If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 176, Tsunade's Request. In the middle of the night, when it was quiet, on a remote bench, a woman with golden long hair sat there in a rather bold posture, and there were several bottles of wine under her feet. At this time, a white-haired figure slowly walked from the dark. It was Jiraiya. "It was you who brought that dangerous guy over, right?" As soon as she saw Jiraiya, the blonde woman spoke. This blonde woman is naturally Tsunade. After Shizuan fell asleep, she quietly got up under the cover of night. And Jiraiya is in a similar situation, except that Tsunade can hide it from Shizuan, but Jiraiya can't hide it from Satoru. There's no way, after all, that guy was too dominant and irritable at the time. I dare not refuse him. Jiraiya sat next to Tsunade, spread his hands, showing a helpless expression, and then conveniently picked up a can of beer next to him and poured it into his mouth. "You really are causing me trouble, but you should know that I am not going to save anyone now." "I know, although I don't know who Satoru wants to save, but it must be very important to him. If you can help him, you can get his favor. For you, it may not be a bad thing. Maybe you will need his help in the future." Hearing this, Tsunade was a bit silent and did not refute anything, because what Jiraiya said might not be wrong. No one knows what will happen in the future, and a powerful ninja like Hatake Satoru might really need his help in the future. And his friend is not injured, but sick. This should not be considered breaking your rules. "I'll think about it again." Tsunade pondered for a while and said. "But if you don't want to help, then leave as soon as possible, otherwise no one knows, when you refuse him, what crazy actions he will do. No one knows, if he does it to you at that time, then the consequences are unimaginable. Even if the two of us join forces, we will definitely not be his opponents," Jiraiya reminded solemnly. Thinking of the hollow technique that almost swallowed him, Jiraiya was a bit scared afterwards. Tsunade naturally did not doubt what Jiraiya said. She knew that Jiraiya's serious appearance now, what he said, still has a high degree of credibility, and Hatake Satoru's killing of the tailed beast is indeed a fact. Even if the three of them join forces, they definitely do not have the strength to kill the weakest tailed beast. At most, they can only compete with each other. Unbeknownst to them, everything they talked about had been heard clearly by Hatake Satoru. On a tree behind the bench, Hatake Satoru leaned against the back of the tree and listened carefully to what the two said. "Well, I know, thank you for reminding me," Tsunade said to Jiraiya. "Do you still have to thank me with me? If you have to thank me, you know." Jiraiya raised his eyebrows at Tsunade, showing a wretched and unserious expression. "Go to hell, you bastard." Tsunade directly punched Jiraiya's face, instantly knocking Jiraiya's body tens of meters away, and a fist mark was recessed on the face. "You still have this strength." Jiraiya lay on the ground, with his 4 feet facing the sky. His body was shaking, and the expression on his face didn't know whether it was painful or enjoyable. When Jiraiya got up, he only saw Tsunade's somewhat angry back. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, Hatake Satoru had been observing Tsunade in secret. As long as Tsunade made a decision to leave here, Hatake Satoru would immediately appear to stop it. Fortunately, Tsunade did not make such a foolish act. If Tsunade really leaves, then Satoru doesn't mind using a tough method. When he finds Shisui, he uses his Mangekyo Sharingan Kota Amatsukami feature to directly modify Tsunade's will. I believe that Shisui will definitely do this for Hatake. But if it is not a last resort, Satoru will not use this method. "Tsunade-sama, 3 days have passed, I believe you should have thought about the answer, right?" On a street with few people, Hatake Satoru stood opposite Tsunade and asked seriously. I can agree, but you must also unconditionally agree to one thing for me." "Okay. What is it?" "I haven't thought about it yet, but when I need you, you must be in place immediately. I believe you have that kind of strength." Tsunade also had a serious expression on her face. "No problem. Tell me, who needs my treatment?" Hearing Satoru also agreed to her request, Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief. "Uchiha Hatake." Hearing Satoru say this name, Tsunade, Shizuan, and Jiraiya were all stunned. "Uchiha Hatake? Is it the ninja who killed the Uchiha clan elders and Danzo?" Such a big thing, the entire ninja world knows, even if Tsunade is now wondering, but during the time when this incident happened, almost the entire ninja world was talking about this matter. "You know, he is a rebel of Konohagakure. Do you know what kind of punishment you will receive for privately treating the renegade of Konohagakure? Tsunade said with a heavy face. She is now somewhat regretful to agree to Satoru. After all, she does not know the inside story of these things, although she also knows that there may be some conspiracy behind this. Even if the other party is a rebel, but he is also my disciple, I can't allow myself to watch my disciple die in front of me because of the disease. I believe that Tsunade-sama, one of the Sunin, wouldn't be a person who goes back on her word, right? You don't need to stimulate me with this kind of agitation. What I promise will naturally be done, but I can't guarantee whether his disease can be cured. After all, if you can ask me to find me, it should not be a simple disease. As long as Tsunade-sama does what she can, even if it can't be cured, what I promise you will definitely be done. Tsunade nodded. But Tsunade's words also made Satoru's heart rise again. Hatake was terminally ill in the original book. Tsunade really didn't know how much chance she could cure the other party. If it doesn't work, then I can only go to Orochimaru. Hatake Satoru thought in his heart. Orochimaru is Hatake Satoru's last plan. After all, Orochimaru has more experience in studying the human body than Tsunade. Maybe Orochimaru will have some way. But facing Orochimaru at that time may not be this kind of begging attitude, it may be coercion and temptation. And he believes that with Orochimaru's wisdom, he will definitely help them. After all, Orochimaru is very clear about the strength of the two of them. He will not be so stupid as to lose his life in the hands of the two of them. Although Orochimaru has more or less hatred for the two of them, this does not prevent Orochimaru from doing things for them, because the other party is a smart person. Chapter 177, The Virus Inside Hatake. After Tsunade agreed, Satoru directly took Tsunade to find Uchiha Hatake, and for some reason, Jiraiya insisted on following these two people, as if he wanted to protect Tsunade, fearing that Hatake Satoru would have ill intentions towards Tsunade. But if Hatake Satoru really wanted to have ill intentions towards Tsunade, even if Jiraiya followed, it would be useless, because Jiraiya's strength is now not worth mentioning in front of Hatake Satoru. Several people followed Hatake Satoru to the Land of Whirlpools, or the old site of the Land of Whirlpools. Since the Land of Whirlpools was destroyed, this place has become a deserted place. Even if you occasionally see some figures here, they are just a group of distressed residents. Although the wife of the fourth Hokage is also from the Land of Whirlpools, due to the extinction of the Uzumaki clan, the royal family of the Land of Whirlpools can be said to have been almost wiped out. Even if Kushina wants to rebuild the Land of Whirlpools, she is not only lack of personnel, but also lack of strength. The fourth Hokage has also always issued a policy in Konohagakure, where anyone from the Uzumaki clan can join the village of Konohagakure and become a villager of Konohagakure. Minato did this, not only because his wife was from the Uzumaki clan, but also because of the terrifying ability of the Uzumaki clan, the terrifying chakra in the body, the ability to recover other people's injuries, and the terrifying sealing technique in the bloodline. It is not an exaggeration to say that as long as every Uzumaki clan uses it well, it can completely become a weapon to change the result of a battle. As for why Satoru would meet Hatake in the Land of Whirlpools, there is no big reason, just by chance he found Orochimaru's trace in the Land of Whirlpools, and Hatake was executing the task of chasing and killing Orochimaru by Akatsuki. Since Orochimaru left Akatsuki, Akatsuki has never given up on chasing and killing Orochimaru. After all, everyone who can leave their Akatsuki organization, without exception, has all become a dead person. Only Orochimaru is now a person who is still alive after leaving Akatsuki. Next to a small river, Hatake and several people from Satoru stood on both sides of the river. As a rebel of Konohagakure, Hatake faced two Konohagakure Sunin at the same time, but Hatake's heart was not timid at all, because his teacher was also there, and the appearance of Hatake Satoru gave Uchiha Hatake infinite confidence. And here, in addition to them, Uchiha Shisui is also hidden in the dark. If a battle occurs, Uchiha Shisui will also join the battle immediately. By then, facing two pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan, even the three ninjas, it is estimated that there is no way to leave here alive. Although he did not join Akatsuki, when he was fine, Hatake would meet Shisui for a while. After all, the current Shisui is the only one who can give Hatake a little comfort. Long time no see, Satoru-sensei. Hatake took the lead in greeting Satoru. Have you been okay these days? Looking at Hatake's ruddy complexion, there is no sign of any illness at all, but Hatake Satoru knows that the less obvious the disease, the more dangerous it is once it breaks out. Thank you for your teacher's concern, my body has not had any conditions for the time being. In everyone's eyes, Hatake slowly turned into a flock of crows, then flew to the front of Satoru and the others, and reassembled into a human form. Instantly, whether it was Jiraiya or Tsunade and Shizuan, they all showed a vigilant expression. Genjutsu. All three of them muttered in their hearts. This visual change completely gave people the feeling that they had been caught in a genjutsu. This is not genjutsu, it's just a kind of ninjutsu I use to move positions. Seeing the vigilant people, Hatake explained aloud. But even with Hatake's explanation, the hearts of the three people still did not relax any vigilance. Tsunade-sama, please check Hatake first. Satoru spoke to Tsunade. Okay. Tsunade slowly walked to Hatake's side. The closer she got to Hatake, the more dangerous Hatake felt to Tsunade. It is said that you have already opened the Mangekyo Sharingan in your Uchiha clan's legend, right? While checking, Tsunade asked Hatake. As someone who had once seen Uchiha Madara make a move, Tsunade naturally knew how terrifying the Mangekyo Sharingan was. Yes. Hatake answered without any concealment. Then you must use this power well and don't harm the ninja world like Uchiha Madara. Tsunade's hand kept exploring on Hatake's upper body. At first, Tsunade still had the mood to chat with Hatake, but slowly, Tsunade's face became more and more serious and more ugly. Seeing Tsunade's appearance, Satoru also frowned instantly. How is it, Tsunade-sama? Seeing Tsunade retract her palm wrapped in green chakra, Satoru immediately asked. Even Hatake, who had no expression just now, showed a trace of tension on his face at this time. As for what kind of situation his body is in, Hatake wants to know more than anyone else. There is a new type of virus in his body. This virus is constantly devouring various cells in his body, and the devouring power of this virus is very terrifying. Any cells in the human body cannot stop this virus from devouring. As time goes by, when about 10% of the body's cells are eroded by this virus, then he will have no chance of survival. Tsunade said with a somewhat heavy tone. For so many years as a doctor, Tsunade encountered such a terrifying virus for the first time. Just now, her chakra has been sensing the intensity of this virus, and found that it is very difficult to completely eliminate this virus. So what is the treatment method? There is none for the time being. I can only use chakra to clear some of the viruses in his body, and then combine some drugs to inhibit the reproduction of the virus. But this is ultimately a symptomatic treatment. If the virus in his body is not completely removed, then his condition will never improve, or let his body adapt to the virus. In this case, maybe there is a chance. Then I will ask you for the time being, Tsunade-sama. As for the sentence that allows Hatake's body to adapt to the virus, it is like a joke. It is a very difficult thing to want a person's body to adapt to new things. Okay. Tsunade let Hatake lie down, and the palm covered with chakra was directly placed on Hatake's chest. After a while, Hatake's face turned white, and a stream of blood sprayed out directly. But after this stream of blood sprayed out, it was obvious that Hatake's body was much more energetic. If possible, try to use less chakra in the future, and you can also temporarily learn some medical ninjutsu. You don't need to be proficient, as long as you can suppress the virus in your body. I will also carefully study the method to eliminate the virus, and then see if I can completely cure you, but before the complete cure, the virus in your body still needs to be cleaned regularly. Thank you, Tsunade-sama, I will study more. When the blood spurted out, Hatake suddenly felt a lot more relaxed, and his mood couldn't help but feel joyful and relaxed. Chapter 178, The Plot Begins. Although Tsunade did not guarantee that she would definitely cure the disease on Hatake, but recently with Tsunade as Hatake's private doctor, at least it made Hatake Satoru's heart feel a lot more at ease. After Hatake's matter was over, Satoru set off on the journey to find the gods again. If possible, Satoru would like to go to the places where the gods are, although he doesn't know how many gods exist in this world, but definitely not many. He also hopes to meet the gods who hurt him, please him, and let him fight with all his strength. But unfortunately, although he can find some traces of the gods, he has never been able to reach the space where the gods are. For this, Satoru is also somewhat regretful. Although he couldn't find the real god realm, Hatake Satoru was also constantly looking for those apostles of the gods. Some powerful apostles of the gods do have the ability to summon gods to possess them. But even if Hatake Satoru has fought with several gods, he has never met a god who can break his limitless technique. He doesn't know whether there is a god with absolute hit in this world, but he feels that there is a god with such ability. Even if there is no such god, maybe there will be an Otsutsuki clan with this ability in the future. Compared with the several gods that Hatake Satoru is fighting now, and the Otsutsuki that appeared in the future in memory, it seems that Otsutsuki's strength is stronger. Several years have passed in a flash. During these years, Satoru has never returned to the village of Konohagakure, but has been wandering in various corners of the ninja world. Almost every country is covered with Hatake Satoru's footprints. When he is free, Satoru will also meet up with Hatake and others, have a drink, and gather together. Although Hatake's disease has not been cured, with Tsunade's help, Hatake's disease has been completely suppressed. And Tsunade has recently made breakthrough progress in researching this virus. Maybe in not too long, the disease on Hatake's body can be completely cured. Kakashi and Satoru have basically had no conversation in recent years. After all, the two brothers are very relieved of each other. It's been so many years, it's time to go back to the village to take a look. At this time, Satoru thought so in his heart. In this world, the village of Konohagakure is his home. After leaving home for so many years, he really has a feeling of homesickness. I wonder if my father misses me. When he thought of this, Satoru couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. When other children go out, parents can't wait to contact them every day, but he has been out of the village for several years, and Sakumo has never found him. This made him deeply doubt, is he really his father's biological son? Thinking back to Kakashi in the Anbu years, he often went to perform tasks that were invisible for several months. At that time, Sakumo would often ask him about Kakashi's news. If it weren't for the special nature of Anbu, maybe Sakumo would contact Kakashi himself. But he is not performing any tasks, but he has never received Sakumo's news. I don't know if it's time for the plot to start now. Although his appearance has caused most things to change, some things will still happen as scheduled. For example, Naruto is still best at Shadow Clone Jutsu, but this time he learned Shadow Clone not like the original, stealing the sealing scroll, but Minato taught him personally. After all, as the son of the Hokage, it is the most normal thing for Minato to personally teach some powerful ninjutsu. However, because Minato's duties as Hokage are very busy, most of the tasks of teaching Naruto fall on Kushina. Although Kushina is also a shadow-level powerhouse, she does not know many ninjutsu. Most of them are some sealing techniques and taijutsu. After all, as a person of the Uzumaki clan and the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, taijutsu can be said to be quite powerful. Satoru slowly returned to the village of Konohagakure. Since he had no urgent tasks, he walked back and slowly passed through the Land of Waves. But as soon as he stepped into the territory of the Land of Waves, Satoru's expression changed slightly. Because he felt a very familiar chakra. Is it already this time? The chakra that Satoru felt was Kakashi's chakra, and there were Naruto and Sasuke and several other chakras that he was relatively unfamiliar with around Kakashi. Kakashi appeared in the Land of Waves, which means that the plot has officially begun. Involuntarily, Satoru's heart became more active, and he directly teleported to Kakashi's surroundings. When he saw the scene in front of him, Satoru's face couldn't help but become a little tangled. After all the improvements you've made, why are you still like this, Hatake Kakashi? Satoru was very puzzled in his heart. The scene that Satoru saw at this time was the scene where Kakashi was trapped in the water prison technique by Zabuza. Kakashi's nervous expression did not seem to be fake, as if he really couldn't escape from this water prison technique. And opposite Zabuza were Sasuke, Naruto, and Haruno Sakura, all of whom looked panicked. Although Naruto has Minato's teachings, and Sasuke has Fugaku's teachings, the strength of the two people is much stronger than that of the original at this time, but what they are facing is an elite Jonin, known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist, Zabuza. Even if they are so powerful now, they can't reach the level of Kakashi and Uchiha Hatake when they were 12 years old. Both of them were Jonin level when they were 12 years old. And Sasuke and Naruto at the age of 12 have just reached Chunin, and it may be just a short time since they reached Chunin. Even if they are facing only a water clone of Zabuza, it is not something the two of them can deal with, and Haruno Sakura is just a burden now. After all, Haruno Sakura is just a family of ordinary people. As for why she can be assigned to the class of 2 generations, Hatake Satoru is still unclear. Naruto still likes Sakura as always, but Sakura still doesn't like Naruto. However, because Naruto is the son of the 4th Hokage, Sakura did not show that much impatience. Sasuke, what should we do? Naruto said to Sasuke with a trembling voice. The killing intent emanating from Zabuza was really terrifying for Naruto and Sasuke now. I don't know, but anyway, let's rescue Kakashi first. Looking at Kakashi trapped in the water prison technique, Sasuke didn't know what to say for a while. He had never dealt with Kakashi directly before, but he didn't expect to become his student in the end. And I didn't expect that the first time I performed such a combat mission, I was trapped by the other party. Chapter 179, Hatake Satoru intervenes. When Kakashi became Naruto's teacher, Minato had already told Naruto about Kakashi's identity. Originally, Kakashi, as his dad's disciple, should have been very strong, but looking at the situation now, it's not at all. Not only is it not that strong, but it's also very lame, and they need to go to rescue him. In the end, Sasuke and Naruto still used the method thought of in the original work. Naruto used the transformation technique to become a wind demon shuriken, which was directly swung out by Sasuke to Zabuza's body, and then Naruto made a sneak attack on Zabuza's body, thereby rescuing Kakashi from the water prison technique. The plan was successful, and Kakashi appeared in front of Sasuke and Naruto, all wet. Well done, Sasuke, Naruto, leave the next battle to me. Just now, it was just Kakashi's test for these two people. Both of them are famous second generations. Even if they are not Zabuza's opponents, they should have the power to fight him. Sure enough, the performance of these two people did not disappoint Kakashi. The only one who performed a bit lame was Haruno Sakura, but Kakashi could understand this. After all, as a ninja from a civilian background, the ninja knowledge she learned was just some things learned in ninja school, and in school, naturally, they would not teach too powerful things. The ninjutsu that can be learned is just the basic three-body technique. Although sometimes some low-level ninjutsu will be taught, most of them are directly informed of the seal order. As for whether such ninjutsu can be learned, it depends on one's own talent and the degree of effort. Obviously, Haruno Sakura is a person who does not exist in talent and effort. Then I'll leave it to you, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said tiredly. Although Kakashi's performance just now was indeed very lame, they still believe in Kakashi's strength. After all, their pops would not hand them over to such an unreliable ninja. Copy ninja, Hatake Kakashi, I didn't expect to have a head-on confrontation with you one day. Zabuza said solemnly. Just now, Zabuza used a strategy to trap Kakashi, just to complete the task faster and not to fight Kakashi. Although he had never fought Kakashi before, he knew that Kakashi's strength was also very strong. I originally wanted to let you go just now, but you hurt my lovely students and prevented us from continuing to execute the mission, so I'm sorry, I must kill you here. Kakashi lifted the forehead protector of his left eye, and suddenly 3 black tomo appeared on the pupil that looked emotionless. You just need to protect Tajuna. Kakashi turned his head and said to Sasuke and the others. And when Sasuke saw Kakashi's Sharingan, he was stunned for a moment, because Sharingan should be unique to their Uchiha clan. Why does it appear on a foreigner now, which makes him very confused? If you have any questions, we'll talk about it later. Kakashi seemed to see the incredulous expression on Sasuke's face and said aloud. But at this moment, a footstep suddenly came, and for some reason, this footstep made everyone's heart tremble, as if something amazing was about to appear. Kakashi, to deal with such a guy, you actually need to use Sharingan. It seems that I need to train you well during this time. A familiar voice suddenly sounded in Kakashi's ears. Kakashi looked incredulously in the direction where the sound came from, and sure enough, he saw that familiar face that made him feel both intimate and hateful. Especially the playful expression on that face, always made Kakashi think of some unpleasant memories. How could you appear here? Kakashi asked with some shock and confusion. The appearance of the newcomer had completely made him forget about Zabuza's existence. Kakashi, you've grown a lot braver now, you dare to talk to your older brother like this. That's right, the person who appeared was Hatake Satoru, who had deliberately revealed himself. Originally, he didn't plan to appear so early, intending to continue watching this good show, but when he saw that Kakashi needed to use Sharingan to deal with someone like Zabuza, Satoru couldn't help but feel impatient. His younger brother, no matter how lame, couldn't be this lame. Although Zabuza's strength is not weak, possessing the strength of an elite Jonin, Kakashi is a cage-level ninja. The gap between Genin and Chunin is small. Chunin and Jonin may have a chance to win if they fight for their lives, but there is an insurmountable gap between Jonin and Kage level. Even if the opponent has the strength of an elite Jonin, they cannot shorten the distance of this gap. Why are you here? Kakashi's face was 3 parts shocked, 3 parts puzzled, and 4 parts incredulous. It's nothing, I just happened to pass by here on my way back to the village, and then I saw this very exciting scene of you being rescued by your students. Hearing Satoru's somewhat mocking words, Kakashi's face instantly turned ugly. The most embarrassing thing he didn't want to be seen was probably his older brother, because he didn't know how long he would hold on to this issue. And Sasuke was looking at Hatake Satoru, who was talking to Kakashi, with a shocked face. Naruto's face was all twisted up, he felt like he had seen this character somewhere, but he had no impression at all. In contrast, the 9 tails inside Naruto immediately tucked its tail and became very honest. Sasuke, do you know this person? Sakura, who had been observing Sasuke, asked after seeing the expression on Sasuke's face. Yes, this guy can be said to be the strongest ninja in Konohagakure, no, in the entire ninja world. What? Hearing Sasuke's evaluation, Sakura's mouth was already open in an O shape. Sasuke is a very proud person. To get such an evaluation from Sasuke's mouth, it means that the person's strength is indeed very strong. That's impossible, the strongest ninja in Konohagakure is my dad, the 4th Hokage. Naruto immediately retorted. And Zabuza, who had been ignored all the time, was a little angry. Although he felt that the face of the newcomer was familiar, he couldn't remember who this person was for a while. It might also be because Hatake Satoru has been relatively low-key in the ninja world in recent years. So this also led to Zabuza feeling a bit unbearable. After all, he is a Jonin, a man known as the demon of the hidden mist Zabuza. When has he ever been ignored by people? If that's the case, then eat this. Seeing the 2 people full of flaws, Zabuza directly held the Kyubikaribchi and rushed towards Hatake Satoru. After all, compared to Kakashi, Hatake Satoru is the one without a reputation now. Chapter 180, Zabuza's Horror. Be careful. Seeing Zabuza's action, Naruto immediately shouted in panic. Sakura had already closed her eyes in fear, afraid to see the scene of Hatake Satoru's body being separated, and Sasuke made some actions, wanting to temporarily help Hatake Satoru block this blow. But where is Sasuke's speed as fast as Zabuza's? Hatake Satoru also noticed Zabuza's existence at this time. When he turned around, he just saw the familiar Kyubikaribchi directly slashing towards his face. And for the Kyubikaribchi that came head-on, Hatake Satoru did not dodge or hide, and even his facial expression did not show any change. Even Kakashi was the same, calmly watching everything happening around him. Although this also made Zabuza feel a bit strange, he didn't have time to think too much. Got it. Zabuza was secretly delighted in his heart, but the next second, the expression on Zabuza's face changed instantly, becoming somewhat astonished and incredulous. Because he found that his sword stopped directly at a distance of about 5 centimeters from the other's body, or it was not stopped, but was moving forward at a very slow speed, and the speed of progress was getting slower and slower, as if his sword could never touch the other's body. It really is a familiar sword. Seeing the big sword close at hand, Hatake Satoru exclaimed. At this time, everyone also reacted, looking at all this incredulously, completely unaware of what had happened, except for Kakashi who was standing by. This should be Kyubikaribchi, right? If I remember correctly, the last owner of Kyubikaribchi, Biwajozo, should have died in my hands. Hearing this sentence, Zabuza immediately realized who the other party was, his eyes widened, and the trembling pupils could see the other's inner horror. Sheathed the sword, quickly retreated tens of meters to the rear, but even tens of meters away could not make him feel safe, his whole body was full of vigilance. As the owner of the 7 ninja swordsmen, he naturally knew that the last 7 ninja swordsmen were wiped out because of a battle. At that time, the 7 ninja swordsmen were killed by only 2 people from Konohagakure. One is a strange man known as the Green Beast, and the other is the White Demon, who is known throughout the ninja world and is said to have the ability to kill the tailed beasts. After all, Hatake Satoru's killing of the tailed beasts has been admitted by the other party, and the 4 tails have already been resurrected, and have been captured by Iwagakure village again to become Jinchuriki, and the news of who he was killed by was also released by him. The original intention of the 4 tails was to let everyone in the ninja world know the danger of the other party, and then use the power of everyone in the ninja world to get rid of the other party. But the 4 tails obviously forgot what kind of strength they themselves possess, a person who can even kill the tailed beasts, how can they be in existence that they can provoke at will? Are you the white demon? Zabuza thought of the description of the white demon in his mind, but apart from the conspicuous white hair, nothing else matched. It's no wonder Zabuza didn't recognize it. Even when Kakashi saw Hatake Satoru's appearance just now, he was doubting, is this his own brother? Because Hatake Satoru changed his eye patch to sunglasses, Kakashi can understand this. After all, Hatake Satoru often wears sunglasses when playing. But the clothes on his body turned out to be floral shirts, floral shorts, and big slippers. This outfit says that he just came back from a beach vacation, and Kakashi believes it, because it looks too much like the clothes worn when going out to play. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that there would still be people in today's ninja world who remember this title, and it's really a bit embarrassing to be called out. Hatake Satoru touched his hair and said with a smile, the expression on his face seemed to be really a bit embarrassed. White Demon, this name is Sochiyunibu. Hearing Zabuza's words, Naruto muttered a little behind them, and even Sasuke looked a little surprised when he heard this title. He remembered that he seemed to have heard this title before, but it might have been too long, he had forgotten. When I first heard it, I thought the title was pretty cool, but now when I hear it, it only makes people feel full of black lines. If he had a similar title, I guess he would hate not to find a place to drill in, because it sounds really embarrassing. If you don't remember it would be strange. Although Zabuza was very upset and angry about Hatake Satoru's attitude, he didn't dare to show it, because he felt that he had already stepped one foot into the Ghost Gate. As for whether his other hand would step into the Ghost Gate, it was completely up to the harmless white-haired man in front of him. Are you planning to kill me? When he asked this question, Zabuza's heart could be said to be shocked, because he didn't know, if Hatake Satoru gave him a positive answer, what would he do, whether to accept his fate obediently, or to run away desperately. Kill you? No, no, no. Hatake Satoru quickly waved his hand and said. I don't kill people anymore, now I want to kill only gods. Hearing this, Zabuza breathed a sigh of relief. But what Hatake Satoru wanted to express was that Zabuza no longer had the value of being killed by him. In the final analysis, it was his inner extreme contempt and disdain for Zabuza. But even if Zabuza knew the truth, his heart would not have any emotions, and he might still feel some relief to survive. What Hatake Satoru said was also true, now the only one worth his shot is indeed only God. Kakashi, I won't participate in your mission, but before this battle is over, I will watch the battle on the side. If you perform too badly, you know the end. Hearing this, Kakashi shivered for a moment. Also, you can't use your Sharingan. Kakashi didn't say anything more to Hatake Satoru, but instead looked at Zabuza with a pitiful look. I'm sorry, I originally wanted to play with you for a while, but now it seems that there may not be that opportunity. Don't look down on me, Kakashi. Since knowing that Satoru would not shoot him, Zabuza's tone has become a lot more presumptuous. I am Demon of the Hidden Mist Zabuza. Zabuza rushed directly at Kakashi, and Kakashi also rushed over with Kunao. This battle, you guys just watch it first, you should be able to learn a lot from it. Satoru said to Sasuke and the others on the side. The three of them nodded at the same time, because they found that in the moment just now, the momentum on Kakashi's body immediately changed. Even if he fights with the other party, he is completely crushing the other party. Chapter 181, Reunion with Guy. In the end, Zabuza was still taken away by Haku, although Satoru knew all this, but he did not interrupt anything, because Haku and Zabuza's incident, for Naruto and Sasuke, it is indeed a very valuable growth experience. Originally, if Kakashi observed carefully, he could also find Zabuza's feigned death state, but Satoru's arrival made Kakashi relax a lot of vigilance, so he didn't check Zabuza's body at all, and let Haku take it away. Then Kakashi, you continue to execute the mission, I will go back to the village first, after you finish the mission, we will meet again. Okay. Afterwards, Satoru, dressed in his summer beach outfit, slowly disappeared from everyone's sight with a swagger. Kakashi-sensei, is that person really your brother? After seeing Hatake Satoru leave, Sakura asked Kakashi, and Naruto also looked at Kakashi with curious eyes. Only Sasuke had an expression that seemed to know everything. Yes, he is indeed my blood-related brother. Sure enough, Kakashi-sensei, you both seem so out of tune. Naruto mercilessly teased him. Probably the only person who could do this besides Naruto was no one else. Rather than saying Kakashi is Naruto's teacher, it's better to say that Kakashi is Naruto's bodyguard. Hearing Naruto's tease, Kakashi's face showed an awkward expression. He knew that his performance at the beginning of the battle was indeed a bit lame. Alright, let's continue with the mission. If there's anything else, we'll talk about it after this mission is over. Yes, Kakashi-sensei. After 3 days, Satoru finally slowly returned to the village. Compared to when he left, the village hadn't changed much. The only significant change might be that the ninjas guarding the entrance had been replaced, and they no longer recognized him. Even if Satoru took out his Konohagakure headband, they didn't recognize his identity as a Konohagakure ninja. After all, for such a flamboyant ninja, even if they didn't recognize him, they should have heard of him. Although there is a string of ninja numbers that can prove Hatake Satoru's identity, his own ninja number is a string of numbers that went abroad several years ago, and he has long forgotten that string of numbers. Just as Satoru was considering whether to forcibly rush into Konohagakure village, a somewhat surprised and excited voice suddenly sounded in Hatake Satoru's ear. Isn't this Satoru? Hearing this familiar voice, Satoru also knew who the person was. Turning his head, he indeed saw that familiar watermelon head, shining brightly under the sunlight. It's really you, Satoru. Seeing Hatake Satoru's face, Might Guy immediately became teary-eyed. It's been several years since I last saw you, Satoru. I thought something had happened to you. The person was indeed Might Guy. He opened his arms and directly hugged Hatake Satoru with teary eyes. Even though Hatake Satoru's face had thickened over the years, being hugged and cried by a burly man in public, Hatake Satoru also felt his old face blush. And behind Might Guy were 3 children, one was a girl with a bun, another was a person from the Hyuga clan with white eyes, and another was a little devil who was dressed and had a hairstyle just like Might Guy. At this moment, the 3 of them saw the state of Guy-sensei, completely shocked and somewhat at a loss. Although they all knew what kind of person Might Guy was, this was the first time they had seen Guy-sensei so excited. Even Guy-sensei's arch-nemesis, Hatake Kakashi Jonin, they had seen a few times, but they had never seen Guy-sensei show such an expression. Alright, Guy, calm down. Satoru, who was hugged by Guy, was a bit stiff and quickly spoke. But now, Might Guy seemed to not hear Hatake Satoru's words at all, and still hugged Hatake Satoru and cried on his own. Having no other choice, Hatake Satoru directly pushed Might Guy's body with his right hand, instantly sending Might Guy flying back several meters. It could be seen that Might Guy's body had already bent into a shrimp shape. Seeing this scene, the 3 children were instantly stunned. They were very clear about their teacher's strength, but now they were pushed several meters away by a stranger with a light push, which showed how powerful the person was. But the next moment, Guy ran back to Hatake Satoru again. Although there were still tears in his eyes, he was no longer crying and howling like just now. That palm just now had calmed Might Guy down. Calm down, Guy. Yes, I'm sorry, Satoru. But Satoru, where have you been these years? Why haven't I heard from you? Even if I ask Kakashi, Kakashi also says he doesn't know. Then, Might Guy asked in confusion. I went to carry out a secret mission. Oh, it seems that this mission is quite difficult, it can actually let you carry out for so many years, but I believe that you will successfully complete any mission. Hearing Guy's words, the 3 little kids were stunned again. This was the first time they had seen their teacher flatter someone. No, the mission can only be said to be partially completed. Hatake Satoru answered truthfully. After all, if those so-called gods are not all solved, his mission is not considered complete. Even you hasn't completed it. It seems that this mission is really quite difficult, it makes me feel a bit excited. But why don't you go back to the village, what are you doing here? This sudden question immediately made Hatake Satoru a bit embarrassed. After all, being rejected by his own village and saying it out loud seemed a bit unpleasant. After telling Guy the reason for the matter, the 2 ninjas guarding the door let Hatake Satoru into the village under Guy's guarantee. I also need to report the mission to Hokage-sama, why don't we go together, Satoru? Okay. Afterwards, Guy turned his head and boasted to his 3 female students about Hatake Satoru's deeds, such as being a genius ninja from a young age, the youngest jonin in history, killing the tailed beasts and so on, making Hatake Satoru a bit embarrassed. Sure enough, he and Kakashi were the same, both not good at dealing with people like Guy. The two brothers can now be said to be completely controlled by Guy. I did hear that Konohagakure did have such a mission, it seems to have the title of White Demon in the ninja world. The little kid of the Hyuga clan pondered for a while and said. Yes, Satoru is the White Demon who shocked the ninja world. Chapter 182, Reporting the Mission. Long time no see, Satoru, welcome back. After seeing Hatake Satoru, Minato's face immediately showed a warm expression, and the smile on his face seemed to be even brighter. It's indeed been a long time, Hokage-sama, you've become more mature than before, and even your strength has become much stronger. Satoru could see that Minato's chakra had become much larger, and he seemed to have reached a complete cooperation with the Nine Tails. If it weren't for the limitless technique, Namikaze Minato would definitely make Hatake Satoru feel like a very dangerous mission. After all, as the Hokage, my strength can't always stand still. Minato said with a bit of a joke. Alright, let's talk about the main point, how is the investigation of the traces of the gods going? As Minato's tone changed, Satoru's face also became a bit more serious. In these years, I have encountered at least no less than 5 gods, their abilities are varied, but without exception, their strength is very strong. They should be in a special space like Mount Myaboku, but the restriction of their special space is stronger, which leads to stricter conditions for summoning them. Perhaps using space-time ninjutsu, we should be able to reach the space where they are. It's true, but without the coordinates of that space, it's hard for us to reach that space. Minato said with a somewhat heavy tone. But don't worry too much for now, those believers of the gods have been almost destroyed by me, and it is estimated that it will take several years or even months to summon new gods. Satoru said confidently. That's good, now my senjutsu has also reached a very high level, presumably even if facing the so-called gods, there should be no problem. As for this, Minato is also very confident. Even without senjutsu, without a quarter of the 9 tails in his body, Minato is also a person standing at the pinnacle of the ninja world. Now with these two terrifying buffs, Minato is hard to lose even if he wants to, and even if Satoru wants to defeat Minato, he must control him instantly, otherwise, as long as Minato has the opportunity to perform Flying Thunder God Jutsu, he can't defeat him. Well, apart from some special characteristics, the gods are not very strong, with your strength, you can easily defeat them. Hearing Satoru's affirmation, Minato now completely let go of his heart. After all, he hasn't dealt with the gods yet, he is just confident in his own strength. By the way, Tsunagakure village recently wants to hold a Chunin exam with us, I agreed, do you want to be an examiner? Suddenly, Minato asked. Chunin exam? Hatake Satoru suddenly remembered that this should be the Konohagakure collapse plan planned by Orochimaru in the original book. I don't know if Orochimaru will continue to execute this plan. Hatake Satoru wondered curiously. After all, Orochimaru executed this plan entirely because of the third Hokage. Now that the third is no longer Hokage, whether Orochimaru's Konohagakure collapse plan will be executed is still an unknown number. And if he executes this plan, he may not be able to survive from Minato's hands. The third Hokage fought desperately to seal Orochimaru's pair of arms, but Minato is estimated to be able to defeat him without injury. After all, Orochimaru's strength is now estimated to be mid-cage level. Apart from being tenacious in life and having strange ninjutsu, his attack power is not very strong. But Minato's strength can now be described as the top of the shadow level. With the 9 tails chakra mode and sage mode, even ordinary C-level ninjutsu can use the power of S-level ninjutsu, not to mention, Minato also masters many A-level and S-level ninjutsu. Alright, then I'll continue to be the examiner for the third game. After thinking about it, Satoru still agreed. If Orochimaru really continues to launch the Konohagakure collapse plan, then Hatake Satoru can just join in the fun. If not, being an examiner for a morning does not delay anything. By the way, the plan of the Akatsuki organization is now very obvious, they are aiming for the tailed beasts, so your family's situation can be said to be quite dangerous now. Hatake Satoru said with a bit of a joke, after all, Naruto, Kushina and Minato are all Jinchuriki, this situation can be said to be unprecedented and unrepeatable, the 9 tails can also be said to be the most miserable tailed beast, being divided into 3. The Akatsuki organization only recently made clear their plan to capture the tailed beasts, this plan was also told to Satoru by Hatake, and then relayed to Minato by Satoru. If they dare to reach into Konohagakure village, then I'll chop off their hands, let them have no return. After knowing the purpose of the Akatsuki organization, a terrifying killing intent suddenly erupted from Minato's body. It might also be influenced by the 9 tails inside him, causing the chakra that appeared on Minato's body to appear a fox phantom. The expression on his face didn't look so kind anymore. Minato had this confidence. Through the news from Hatake, Minato also knew what kind of people were in the Akatsuki organization. Apart from the mysterious leader with the Rinnegan, all other members had been investigated by the people of Konohagakure. Although those few people also have shadow level strength, but most of them are only shadow level beginners, there are very few middle level, even if Minato alone cannot deal with all of them. There is also a retired third Hokage, even if due to the increase in age, the strength has declined, at least also has the beginner cage level. And besides the third Hokage, there is also a Konohagakure White Fang with shadow level high level strength, although they are not making a move now, but when Konohagakure faces a crisis of life and death, they will still make a move. And Kushina also mastered the 9 tails chakra mode. To deal with Kushina at least need at least 2 people from the Akatsuki organization to make a move. Now only Naruto will not have any resistance when encountering the Akatsuki organization, but Naruto has Kakashi by his side, which makes Minato very relieved. After all, Kakashi now also has shadow level middle level strength, plus Sage mode and Sharingan. Even if facing shadow level high level opponents, who wins and who loses is not certain. And besides strength, Kakashi's strategy is also very strong. This is also the reason why Minato is relieved to hand Naruto to Kakashi. After the Chunin exam, you can rest in the village for a while, put the matter of the gods aside for now. I also have this intention. Satoru's mouth slightly smiled. Sakumo's age is also a bit old, although living for another few decades is not a problem, but still need to accompany him well. Chapter 183, Tsunagakure Ninja Trio. Upon arriving at Hatake Sakumo's shop and experiencing his father's long-lost craftsmanship, Hatake Satoru's face showed a satisfied smile. It's been a few years since I last saw you, you've lost some weight, Satoru. Looking at Hatake Satoru's satisfied eating appearance, Hatake Sakumo's face showed a heartache expression, although he has never contacted Satoru in these years, but his heart has always been thinking about his eldest son. And hearing Hatake Sakumo's words, Satoru instantly had a full head of black lines. However, when he looked up at Sakumo again, his expression suddenly became a bit dazed. Although he couldn't tell from the white hair that Sakumo was getting old, Satoru noticed that many wrinkles had appeared on Sakumo's face, as well as a sense of vicissitudes in his expression. Wait for Kakashi to come back, and 3 of us will have a good gathering. Speaking of which, I have never drunk with you before. Hatake Sakumo made a toast gesture. In these years, he often went to find Kakashi for a drink, but every time he felt a bit regretful. Now he knew that the regret in his heart was that his eldest son was missing from the wine table. Okay, after Kakashi comes back, I will have a good drink with you, I just hope that by then, you won't be drunk by me. Hearing this, Hatake Sakumo immediately showed a contemptuous expression. This expression seemed to say, are you underestimating me? Okay, then I look forward to the moment you get me drunk. In response to Hatake Sakumo's ridicule, Hatake Satoru just smiled slightly, didn't make any response, but had already made up his mind in his heart, he must let his old father know how powerful he is. As time passed day by day, more and more unfamiliar faces would appear in Konohagakure village every day, wearing different ninja headbands on their heads. These people were all invited to participate in the Chunin exam in Konohagakure. Just today, Kakashi also came back, and the plot developed just like in the original book. For some reason, even though he had been defeated by Kakashi once, Zabuza felt that he could do it again, and challenged Kakashi again. The result was self-evident. Zabuza and Haku both fell on that bridge. On the day they returned to the village, the Hatake family of 3 sat in the yard, under the moonlight, and indeed had a good drink. Satoru, who originally wanted to drink Sakumo under the table, became the first person to fall. This also allowed Sakumo and Kakashi to finally find a place to ridicule Hatake Satoru. Looking at Hatake Satoru, who was lying on the ground and snoring, Sakumo and Kakashi looked at each other and smiled knowingly. This secret they would keep forever in their hearts. Can Satoru drink? He can drink quite a lot, after all, he has spent some time with Jiraiya, and has long been familiar with the feeling of alcohol. Just didn't expect Sakumo and Kakashi to be like beasts, drinking alcohol just like drinking water, not dizzy or red-faced. Kakashi, having you and Satoru, really makes me feel very happy. Hatake Satoru smiled from the heart. Having a father like you, I also feel very happy, and very proud. The Hatake family are not good at talking, being able to say such heartfelt words, it also means that the alcohol in their bodies has played a role. The next day, Satoru woke up groggy from the yard. These two guys, they don't even know take me to the house. Hatake Satoru sat up, rubbed his forehead, and complained. Then he used the reverse curse technique to directly eliminate all the side effects of alcohol in his body. Now in the Hatake family's large courtyard, only Hatake Satoru was left. Sakumo had already opened the shop, and Kakashi had already gone to lead the team to carry out the mission. Forget it, I'll go out for a walk too. Satoru thought to himself, after all, it would be quite boring to be at home alone. At this time, Kakashi's team had already completed the mission. Not long after they left the Hatake family's mansion, Hatake Satoru saw a very interesting scene. He saw Sarutobi Hiruzen's grandson being held in the hand by a little kid from Tsunagakure Ninja, and Naruto wanted to go forward to rescue him, but was directly tripped by a chakra line. Haha, is this a ninja from Konohagakure? They're really weak. Seeing Naruto who had taken a tumble, the little devil from Tsunagakure Ninja mercilessly mocked Naruto. Damn it, do you know who I am? I am the grandson of the third Hokage. The Konohagakure pill in the other's hand was constantly struggling, but for a ninja, this struggling strength was simply negligible. Just when Kankuro planned to teach this ignorant little devil a lesson, Sakura suddenly spoke up to stop him. Hey, you guys aren't ninjas from Konohagakure, are you? What are you doing in our village? Sakura asked with a vigilant face. At this time, Naruto, who had come back to his senses, also noticed the headbands carried by the two people on the other side, and was equally vigilant. After all, ninjas from outside villages basically would not appear in Konohagakure village. Hey? As ninjas from Konohagakure, you guys don't even know what's going to happen? Kankuro asked with a surprised face. And then at this moment, Kankuro suddenly felt a pain in his right hand, the little devil he was holding in his hand directly fell out, and then a stone also bounced on the ground. Who's there? Kankuro turned around with a vigilant face, only to see Uchiha Sasuke standing on the tree behind him, weighing a few stones in his hand. I don't know why you came to Konohagakure, but as a member of the Konohagakure Reserve Guard, I absolutely won't allow you to be so arrogant in Konohagakure. Sasuke said with a cold expression. Now the Uchiha clan still controls the guard business, and as the son of the clan leader, he is naturally a member of the Reserve Guard. When did you? Kankuro looked at Uchiha Sasuke who appeared behind him, his expression was a bit stunned, because when did this person appear behind him, he didn't notice at all. Hey, Kankuro, if you cause any more trouble, I'll kill you first. Just then, another voice suddenly sounded, although this voice was also cold, but besides being cold, it was also full of killing intent. Hearing this voice, Kankuro and Temari both shivered, and so did Sasuke, because this voice sounded behind him. Sasuke turned his head abruptly and saw a figure standing upside down on the tree, looking at everything with cold eyes. What the hell is this guy? A look of horror appeared on Sasuke's face, this was the first time he had felt a hint of fear among his peers. Hey, little kid from Tsunagakure Ninja, it's not okay to scare our people like this. Suddenly, Hatake Satoru's voice sounded again behind the other party. Then, the other party seemed to have a stress response, a pile of sand suddenly appeared from the gourd behind him, and shot at Hatake Satoru. Chapter 184, Little Kid from Tsunagakure Ninja. Be careful. Seeing this scene, another girl from Tsunagakure Ninja couldn't help but shout out loud. Now if the ninja from Konohagakure were to have an accident, they might not be able to leave Konohagakure. At this time, Gaara also reacted, but when he wanted to control the sand, it was already too late. The sand had directly attacked Hatake Satoru's face, but the bloody scene that the few people from Tsunagakure Ninja had imagined did not appear. When the sand met Hatake Satoru, it seemed to have met some kind of barrier and was directly blocked. Such a bad temper isn't good, little kid from Tsunagakure Ninja. The next second, Satoru's voice appeared again behind Gaara, his palm directly broke through Gaara's sand armor, and directly pressed on Gaara's shoulder. What? Seeing this scene, all three little kids from Tsunagakure village were stunned, especially Gaara, he had never seen anyone who could touch him. It must be a lie, how is it possible, that Gaara was actually touched by someone? Kankuro said in shock, this was something he had never dared to imagine in his mind. I'm not dreaming, am I, Temari? No, it's true, that ninja from Konohagakure touched Gaara. Temari swallowed, her eyes also full of shock. Hey, what's the matter, it's just touching that guy, what's so surprising? Naruto asked with some surprise on the side. You don't understand. The only response to him was these three simple words. I don't understand. And hearing these three words, Naruto seemed to be petrified. And Gaara, who was touched, seemed to go mad. A huge wave of sand suddenly appeared around his body, and directly rushed towards Hatake Satoru. But Hatake Satoru's body was like a wooden stake nailed there, standing still and letting the quicksand wash over his body. Not good, if this goes on, Gaara will go berserk. Kankuro shouted in panic. He wanted to stop Gaara in this state, but he simply didn't have the strength. Hey, calm down, little kid, be careful or I'll kill you. Suddenly, a terrifying chakra carrying a killing intent instantly covered Gaara's momentum, and the sand seemed to lose control and fell directly to the ground. At this time, you could see that cold sweat had appeared on Gaara's forehead. Then, Satoru gave a chop with his hand, directly knocked Gaara out, and then directly handed him to the two people watching the excitement below. You actually brought a Jinchuriki, what are you Tsunagakure village planning? In an instant, Kankuro and Temari were both panicked. If their plan as Tsunagakure ninja was discovered, they would definitely not be able to leave Konohagakure alive. With someone who can easily handle Gaara, isn't crushing them as simple as crushing an ant? Is that person also a Jinchuriki? Naruto looked at the unconscious person with a bit of shock and sympathy in his eyes. Naruto had long known about his identity as a Jinchuriki, although he was the son of the fourth Hokage, he was still inevitably looked at with strange eyes by some people. It can be imagined what kind of treatment the other party would receive in their own ninja village. Because we Tsunagakure ninja didn't have that many people to participate in the exam this time, so we could only find a Jinchuriki to make do. We also brought a ceiling ninja, we will definitely not let Gaara lose control. Kankuro stammered in explanation, but this kind of explanation was obviously made up of lies. But Satoru didn't intend to delve into this matter. Okay, if your Jinchuriki shows this kind of situation again next time, don't you wouldn't have a good time in Konohagakure. Hatake Satoru said with a pretense of majesty. Don't worry, we will definitely discipline Gaara well, this kind of situation will definitely not happen again. Alright, you guys can leave first. Thank you, thank you. Kankuro and Temari quickly bowed, expressing their gratitude, and directly helped Gaara to leave. While Gaara was sleeping, there was no movement from Shikaku inside him, which really shocked both of them. Humph, little Tanuki, you're quite honest, aren't you? Seeing Gaara gradually being helped away, Hatake Satoru chuckled lightly. Shikaku could have taken the opportunity to take over Gaara's body at this time, but he didn't do so. It seemed that he was afraid of Hatake Satoru, or perhaps the Four Tails had already told the tailed beasts about Hatake Satoru's terror, so Shikaku was very honest in front of Hatake Satoru. Kakashi-sensei's brother, why would Tsunagakure ninja appear here? Naruto directly shouted at Hatake Satoru. Oh? You guys don't know yet? The Chunin exam is about to start soon, Kakashi might notify you guys soon. Chunin exam. Hearing what Hatake Satoru said, all three of them showed interested expressions on their faces. Does that mean we can all become Chunin? Naruto said excitedly. Even Sasuke on the side couldn't help but show some excitement on his face, and so did Sakura. Satoru made a thoughtful expression. All three of them were very nervous, looking at Hatake Satoru, waiting for what he would say next. Not every genin is qualified to become a Chunin, you must pass 3 exams to do so. Generally, in a Chunin exam, only about 5 or 6 people are qualified to become Chunin. Ah? Only 5 or 6 people. Hearing that the number was so small, Sakura immediately showed a worried expression on her face. Because Sakura knew very well how strong she was, it would be impossible to stand out from dozens of genin unless a miracle happened. Don't worry, Sakura, Sasuke and I will definitely help you. Unlike Sakura's worried expression, Naruto and Sasuke had confident expressions on their faces. Hearing what Naruto said, Sakura showed a touched expression on her face. She looked at Sasuke again and found that Sasuke didn't look at her, and a lost expression appeared on her face. Well, a friendly reminder, the Chunin exam is divided into 3 parts, the first 2 require team cooperation, but the last one is to fight on your own. So, the most important thing is to rely on your own strength. Hearing this, Naruto also found it difficult. Will we meet that guy in the Chunin exam? Suddenly, Sasuke spoke up, naturally referring to Gaara. Yes, he is also a genin who came to participate in the exam. If nothing unexpected happens, you should be able to meet him. What, such a terrifying guy is actually a genin? Maybe I won't participate. Sakura said a little timidly. Oh, by the way, the Chunin exam must be participated by a team of 3 people, no one can be missing. In an instant, Sakura felt that she was being stared at by 2 burning gazes. Chapter 185, The Past of the White Demon. The next things have nothing to do with Hatake Satoru. He saved the grandson of the 3rd Hokage, the son of the 4th Hokage. This really made the 2 Hokage so Hatake Satoru a favor. And in the place where Tsunagakuer ninja stayed in Konohagakuer, the team leader Jonin Baki looked seriously at Gaara who was sleeping on the bed. Which of you 2 can tell me what happened? Why is Gaara asleep? He just tried to wake up Gaara, but was directly blocked by Gaara's absolute sand defense. Kankuro and Temari looked at each other, and in the end, it was Kankuro who spoke up to explain. We encountered a Jonin from Konohagakuer. That ninja effortlessly touched Gaara, and Gaara, who was touched by someone for the first time, seemed to be in a state of rampage, but was easily suppressed by the other party. Kankuro explained with a serious face. A Jonin who can easily suppress Gaara. Hearing Kankuro's words, Baki was also stunned for a moment. You should know that although Gaara is young now, he indeed already has the strength of a Jonin. Even he is not Gaara's opponent. What does the other party look like? Then, Baki immediately asked about the other party's appearance. After all, in the ninja world, famous ninjas who can suppress Jinchuriki are only a few. Maybe he knows the person. White hair, wearing an eye patch, looks very easygoing, very sunny, but when he suppressed Gaara, the momentum emanating from his body seemed to suffocate people. Recalling the scene just now, Kankuro felt a chill. Under that momentum, Kankuro couldn't even bring up a bit of rebellious emotion. The White Demon of Konohagakuer. Baki's eyes widened instantly. Through Kankuro's description, he knew who the other party was in an instant. The White Demon. Hearing this title, Temari and Kankuro's faces showed a hint of astonishment. They felt somewhat unfamiliar with this title, but also somewhat familiar, as if they had heard it somewhere. You guys not knowing this title is a very normal thing. Baki said with a serious face. After all, in recent years, this guy has basically disappeared in the ninja world. Many people thought he was dead, but I didn't expect him to be still alive. Is that guy very strong? Temari asked. Although we have not directly fought with him, we have heard some legends about him. That guy can't be described as strong, he is a monster more terrifying than a tailed beast. From Baki's pupils, it can be seen that he has a deep fear of Hatake Satoru. More terrifying than a tailed beast? How is that possible? Kankuro smiled reluctantly. In his cognition, the tailed beast is already the most terrifying existence in the ninja world. The only thing that can be stronger than a tailed beast is a tailed beast. How could it be more terrifying than a tailed beast? During the Third Ninja War, he once led a small team deep into the Land of Moon to carry out the mission of blowing up the Thunder Moon Bridge. Although the mission failed in the end, when covering his teammates to retreat, he once stayed alone to hold back the current Raikage, and retreated from the Raikage's hands. At that time, his age was said to be only about 10. The more they listened, the more shocked Kankuro and Temari felt in their hearts. Afterwards, he became the highest leader of the battlefield between Konohagakuer and Kirigakuer ninja, and once killed 4 of the 7 ninja swordsmen by himself. After the end of the Third War, for some reason, he single-handedly broke into Uegakuer village and directly killed the 4 tails. He killed the 4 tails. Kankuro and Temari both exclaimed in shock. They knew that the tailed beast inside Gaara was only a 1 tail, although the number of tails could not measure the strength of the tailed beast, but it was undeniable that the other party had the strength to kill the 4 tails, and must also have the strength to kill the 1 tail. No wonder Shikaku didn't take the opportunity to take over the body and cause trouble when Gaara was sleeping, so the tailed beasts also have things to fear. At this time, Kankuro and Temari completely understood the terror of Hatake Satoru, and also completely understood why Shikaku was so honest. Then why the people of Uegakuer village didn't ask Konohagakuer for an explanation if the tailed beast of their village was killed? Kankuro asked another question in his heart. If the 1 tail of their village was killed, they Sunagakure village would definitely mobilize all their forces, even if it caused another ninja war, they would definitely not let the other party feel good. Do you think they didn't retaliate? Hearing Beki's counter-question, Kankuro and Temari were also a bit speechless for a while. They did, but their retaliation also brought about more terrifying actions by the White Demon. He returned to Iwagakure village alone again, not only defeated the third Tsuchikage, but also razed Iwagakure village to the ground. Since then, all the ninjas of Iwagakure village have had a deep fear of the White Devil from the bottom of their hearts. The third Tsuchikage even ordered that they must give way to the White Demon in the future. Hiss! Kankuro and Temari both gasped at the same time. To be able to make a village's shadow issue such an order, it can be seen how deep an impression the White Demon has left in their hearts. Of course, this impression is not a good one. With such a powerful ninja in Konohagakure, can our plan succeed? Kankuro suddenly asked with a timid tone. His heart was already filled with fear for Konohagakure, the white-haired figure was indeed like a nightmare, lingering in his heart, truly worthy of the title of the White Demon. Don't worry, although the other party is still in Konohagakure village, it is indeed beyond our expectations, but Kazekage has long made plans for all the people of Konohagakure, including the White Demon. That's good. Hearing what Beki said, Kankuro and Temari both breathed a sigh of relief at the same time, but their fear of the White Demon has not decreased at all. And they also have a bit of doubt about Kazekage's means against the White Demon. Can a person who can kill a tailed beast really be dealt with by some vulgar means? The White Demon who killed the tailed beast. Just then, a low voice suddenly sounded in the ears of the three of them. They saw that Gaara had woken up at some point, and a look of longing appeared in his eyes. But they didn't know what this longing look was longing for. If he's here, can I sleep normally every day? A joyful smile could be seen on Gaara's face. Seeing Gaara's expression, Kankuro and Temari couldn't help but feel a bit heartbroken. After all, Gaara was their little brother, and no brother or sister wouldn't feel heartbroken for their little brother. Chapter 186, Orochimaru's Trade. The news of the White Demon's reappearance in Konohagakure somehow spread among the ninjas who came to take the exam again, and in an instant, the originally busy Uchiha clan now had some free time. Sure enough, your name still has a deterrent effect even after such a long time. The fourth Hokage, Namikaze Minato, said with a smile in front of Hatake Satoru. Originally, Namikaze Minato had been a bit headache these days about how to quiet down these ninjas who came to take the exam, but before he could take any measures, just as Hatake Satoru returned to Konohagakure, all the signs disappeared. Haha, I didn't expect that I would still be so useful now. Hatake Satoru said with a laugh, but the expression on his face seemed to say that this was a matter of course. After all, the fear he left in each ninja village still deeply rooted in people's hearts. But I've been having some bad premonitions lately, I feel that this Chunin exam won't be so peaceful. Then, Minato's tone changed, and he said with a frown. Don't worry, with you and me in this village, what can make us feel difficult? Hatake Satoru said with a relaxed face. That's true. Minato's expression also relaxed, and he smiled slightly. Perhaps this Chunin exam will indeed have some unexpected things happen, but no matter what happens, as long as he is there, he will definitely protect the village from harm. As time went by, the Chunin exam was carried out as scheduled, and Hatake Satoru basically participated in all the things, and found that this was not much different from the Chunin exam in his memory. It seemed he didn't have caused much impact on this Chunin exam. In the blink of an eye, the first exam was over, but because he was the son of the fourth Hokage, Naruto's performance was not as bad as in the original work. Although he was not absolutely smart, he still got most of the questions on the first exam paper right. But in the last question, Naruto still made the same move as in the original work. His passionate speech instantly made some people who were planning to give up on the last question regain their confidence. Indeed, as expected of Hokage-sama's son, this is exactly like you, Hokage-sama. In the Hokage office watching this exam, someone couldn't help but flatter the fourth Hokage's son. No, Naruto still has a lot to learn. Although Minato said so, the expression on his face had already betrayed his inner thoughts, it was completely a proud expression for his child. Perhaps if this happened to him, he wouldn't be able to make a passionate speech like Naruto, but he would definitely do it to the end, never give up, and he had confidence in himself, no matter what the final question was, he could answer it. Naruto might be more suitable to be Hokage than me. Suddenly, such a thought emerged in Minato's heart, and he also knew that Naruto's dream has always been to inherit his position and become the 5th Hokage. And now in Minato's heart, the position of the 5th Hokage is indeed reserved for Naruto. He thinks he can hold on until Naruto grows up. There should not be any other 5th Hokage in his heart. The first exam was over, and under Naruto's leadership, the elimination rate of the first exam was greatly reduced. The second exam was still in the Forest of Death. The Forest of Death, as one of the most dangerous places in Konohagakure, is the most suitable place to test the genin who are in peacetime. After all, it is very difficult for ordinary genin to spend 3 days safely in the Forest of Death, let alone face battles with ninjas from other villages during this period. The chances of survival will be even lower. Sure enough, Orochimaru has infiltrated. At this time, Hatake Satoru was also at the entrance of the Forest of Death, naturally seeing the Otagakure ninja disguised by Orochimaru. Otagakure, as a ninja village established by Orochimaru, although it has only been established for a few years, every ninja in it is an elite and has some special abilities. It is not known whether it is related to Orochimaru's experiments, but they have all been transformed. In short, whether it is genin or chunin, the quality of Otagakure ninjas is higher than that of other ninja village ninjas. Even the quality of ninjas in the big ninja village cannot compare with Otagakure. This means that the plan to collapse Konohagakure is still going on. However, I'm curious, Orochimaru, who gave you the confidence to make trouble under my watch? Hatake Satoru thought to himself, somewhat puzzled. Orochimaru should be very clear that as long as he causes trouble in Konohagakure, Hatake Satoru will definitely take action. Just then, Hatake Satoru suddenly noticed a slight movement on the ground next to him, and a small white snake suddenly drilled out from under the ground. Oh? Have I been discovered already? This was indeed a bit surprising to Hatake Satoru. Although he didn't deliberately hide himself, it should still be difficult to find his whereabouts. The little white snake spat out its tongue, and although it didn't say a word, Satoru seemed to have understood what it wanted to express. Orochimaru was inviting him to meet somewhere. How interesting! Hatake Satoru's mouth curled up slightly, and then his figure flashed, and he left the spot with a whoosh. Outside Konohagakure, in a room located on a cliff, Hatake Satoru's figure appeared directly here, and in front of him was Orochimaru, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. It's been a long time, Orochimaru. I didn't expect you, a rebel ninja, to actually invite me out. I'm really curious, what are you up to? This was indeed a doubt in Hatake Satoru's heart. Although he had already seen that the Orochimaru in front of him was just a shadow clone. It's been a long time, Satoru. The shadow you left me back then is still very clear. Orochimaru said with a cold smile. He almost died at the hands of Hatake Satoru back then. I came back to Konohagakure this time to destroy Konohagakure, but before that, I want to make a deal with you. Oh. Hearing Orochimaru say this, Hatake Satoru became interested all of a sudden. What deal? You don't want me to help you fight Konohagakure, do you? You know, that's impossible. Of course not, the content of my deal will definitely interest you. Orochimaru stretched out his tongue and licked his lips, looking very confident, as if he had Hatake Satoru in his grasp. Speak. Hatake Satoru signaled Orochimaru to continue. Chapter 187, Orochimaru's Goal. I know that in recent years, you and Tsunade have been troubled by Uchiha Itake's body. After saying this, Orochimaru didn't continue, but a confident look appeared in his eyes. He stretched out his long tongue and licked his lips. And hearing his words, Hatake Satoru also fell silent instantly, leaning against the wall without saying a word, and the aura on his body unconsciously became much heavier. So, what exactly do you want to say? Hatake Satoru's voice was somewhat cold. At present, I have researched a special medicine to treat Uchiha Itake's disease. Although I believe Tsunade also has this ability, there is no way now, and the future is full of uncertainty. So, do you want to choose to trade with me? As long as you promise not to take action in this event, I will naturally give you the medicine. Orochimaru's voice once again enticed Hatake Satoru. How do I know if what you are saying is true or false? Don't worry, I know very well what kind of person you are. I don't have the confidence to live unscathed after deceiving you, so I can't possibly lie to you. Orochimaru said confidently. So what will you do if I don't agree with you? Suddenly, Hatake Satoru's tone changed, and Orochimaru's expression instantly became serious. In that case, I can only do my best to stop you here. Then, a series of dense seals appeared around the room, which looked like a seal at first glance. For so many years, I have also been studying what your absolute defense ability is. I have to say, your ability is indeed incredible. Even if I know the principle, I can't crack it. The existence of infinity in theory exists in reality, which has already surpassed ninjutsu, no, the category of science. So, after knowing your ability, I no longer have the idea of defeating you, because you are impossible to be defeated. When Orochimaru said this, his expression was very rich, sometimes excited and obsessed, sometimes low and lost. So the only way to stop you is to seal you. Although this seal may not be able to seal you for too long as it can last until the end of the Chunin exam, it will be enough. Hearing Orochimaru accurately describe his ability, a look of surprise appeared on Hatake Satoru's face, and he also sighed in his heart, worthy of Orochimaru. Sure enough, Orochimaru, you are the first person who can describe my ability in detail. You're amazing. Hatake Satoru clapped his hands and praised. Okay, I agree to your proposal. I will be a bystander in this farce. But if I find out that you are lying to me, I will definitely not let you live. Don't worry. Orochimaru suddenly opened his mouth, and then a snake came out of his mouth. Then the snake also opened its mouth, and a bottle of green potion was sprayed from the snake's mouth towards Hatake Satoru. Although he was very disgusted with the snake's saliva, thinking that this might be the medicine to treat Uchiha Hatake, Satoru had no choice but to reach out and take it. Such a strong life breath! Through Rikugan, Hatake Satoru observed that the life breath in this bottle of potion was extremely strong. Even a dying person could be reborn after drinking this potion. This is a potion I made from the cells of the first Hokage, plus the cells I obtained from Hatake, and analyzed the virus in Hatake's body to make this potion. So, I am 100% sure that I can cure Hatake's disease. Orochimaru is very confident in his scientific ability. Okay, I hope your mission can be successful this time. Even without me, Konohagakure still has a lot of strong people. I know, but my goal has always been only one person. Orochimaru's eyes condensed, obviously thinking of that person in his mind. It is said that the eyes are the window of the soul, and Hatake Satoru also saw his inner struggle from Orochimaru's eyes. White Fang will not take action, Minato also has his own concerns, the combat power that can be exerted is limited, now for me, Kakashi is also a trouble. In the past, Orochimaru was a person who could kill Kakashi in seconds, but now Kakashi's strength has made Orochimaru feel fear. It seems that you have calculated everything a long time ago. It has to be said that Orochimaru's mind is really meticulous, almost calculating all the people outside the plan. Because I never do things I'm not sure about. Orochimaru heard Hatake Satoru's praise, and a smile appeared on his face. Then, with a bang, he turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared directly. And Hatake Satoru also left here. After Hatake Satoru left, the cottage suddenly turned into a huge tongue, and then also bang, disappeared. At this time, the second round of the Chunin exam has already started. The rules are still the same as in the original work. Only by collecting the Heaven and Earth scrolls and reaching the central tower can it be considered successful. Since Orochimaru's plan is already known, Satoru didn't watch the second round of the exam anymore, but directly found Minato. Although he had already promised Orochimaru not to intervene in this matter, the plan had not yet started, and the time Satoru promised had not yet taken effect. I just met Orochimaru. As soon as he saw Minato, Hatake Satoru spoke directly. Minato, who was originally observing the surveillance of various places in the Forest of Death, his face instantly became serious. His purpose for coming back this time is to destroy Konohagakure, no, or to say, to kill the third Hokage. The third Hokage? Although Orochimaru is indeed the third Hokage's disciple, there is indeed a deep contradiction between the third Hokage and Orochimaru. Originally, Orochimaru should have been the fourth Hokage's position nailed down, but who knew that the third's idea suddenly changed and fell on Minato. No matter what, Orochimaru cannot be allowed to make trouble in Konohagakure. Satoru, Orochimaru is left to you to deal with. I'm afraid that won't work. Satoru spread his hands, his tone somewhat helpless. Why? Alas, I have a soft spot that Orochimaru has grasped, and I promised him not to intervene in this matter. Hatake Satoru also truthfully told the fourth, so as not to cause trouble in the future, he, the highest combat power of Konohagakure, did not take action, and was suspected by the fourth Hokage. Satoru didn't want to live in other people's doubts. Well then, it seems I can only let Jiraiya-sensei come back. Minato didn't ask much, he still trusts Hatake Satoru very much now, after all, he told him such important information. Chapter 188, The Nervous Konohagakure. As time passed, the second round of the Chunin exam gradually came to an end. Orochimaru still targeted Uchiha Sasuke's body. It can be said that Orochimaru has been obsessed with Sharingan to a certain extent. Although there are many people in the Uchiha clan now, Orochimaru still targeted Sasuke. Perhaps because Sasuke is Uchiha Itachi's younger brother, he thinks that Sasuke's potential may be greater than Itachi's, so Orochimaru directly gave Sasuke a curse mark. He wants Sasuke to become his next body. Naturally, Kakashi also discovered this change. Satoru did not tell Kakashi about Orochimaru's appearance, but through the curse mark on Sasuke's neck, how could Kakashi not know who did it? Then, in a secret room, Sasuke was sealed with an evil seal. Kakashi is not very good at sealing techniques, so the evil seal is the most powerful seal Kakashi can use. Clap clap clap, as expected of Kakashi. Just then, a round of applause accompanied by a charming voice rang in Kakashi's ears. Kakashi, who had just finished using the sealing technique, had a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. Hearing this voice, he directly raised his head and looked at the figure slowly emerging from the darkness. The person's face was very pale, his tongue was unusually long, and there was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Orochimaru, as a renegade ninja, what are you doing in Konohagakure? Kakashi raised his right hand, and suddenly a burst of ear-piercing lightning appeared directly in his hand, as if thousands of birds were singing together. This is Kakashi's signature ninjutsu, Chidori. In this dark space, Kakashi's Chidori illuminated his face. Although Orochimaru's appearance at this moment surprised Kakashi, he is no longer the Kakashi of the past, and there is no fear on his face at this time. Thank you for training Sasuke very well. The next time we meet, I will take Sasuke away from you. Don't even think about it. As he spoke, Kakashi's Chidori suddenly swung towards Orochimaru. Suddenly, the lightning held in his hand was directly shot at Orochimaru. The moment it hit Orochimaru, it immediately pierced Orochimaru's body. I look forward to our next meeting, Kakashi and Sasuke-kun. Looking at the unconscious Sasuke lying on the ground, a trace of greed and reluctance appeared in Orochimaru's snake eyes. Then his body directly turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. Obviously, it was Orochimaru's shadow clone that came. Then, Kakashi also reported this matter to Minato, and Uchiha Fugaku also knew that his child was targeted by Orochimaru, and his face instantly became ugly. Looking at the unconscious Sasuke, a trace of heartache appeared on Fugaku's face. Perhaps only when Sasuke couldn't see it would such an expression appear on his face. Orochimaru. Uchiha Fugaku silently recited this name in his mouth, and at the same time clenched his fists tightly. Obviously, his heart was already filled with extreme anger towards Orochimaru. His eldest son has already left Konohagakure, and he will not allow any accidents to happen to his younger son. Calm down, Sasuke will be fine. At this time, Mikoto touched Fugaku's fist on the side and comforted softly, but there was also an undeniable concern for Sasuke on her face. And if someone as dangerous as Orochimaru appears in Konohagakure, Hokage-sama will not sit idly by. Fugaku responded in a low voice, but his hatred for Orochimaru did not diminish at all. The old hatred, plus the new hatred now. He knew that Orochimaru had been peeping at their clan's Sharingan before, and even sometimes the missing clan members were related to Orochimaru. But at that time there was no direct evidence to prove that it was related to Orochimaru, and Orochimaru had a close relationship with the three Hokages, so Fugaku always kept this hatred in his heart. But he didn't expect that this time Orochimaru would directly attack his son, which made him really angry. If he knew where Orochimaru was now, he would definitely cut off Orochimaru's snake head directly. Since the activation of Mangekyo Sharingan, Fugaku has not had the opportunity to fully unleash his eyes, but he believes that with Mangekyo Sharingan, he definitely has the strength to defeat Orochimaru. At this time, Orochimaru is like a reptile to Fugaku. Sasuke has now been handed over to Patriarch Fugaku, but with Orochimaru appearing in the village, we have to be on guard. Kakashi stood in front of Minato, speaking with a serious expression. Yes, I already know what you said. I have already called Jiraiya-sensei back. Orochimaru's matter will be handed over to Jiraiya-sensei, and I also plan to let Naruto to become Jiraiya's disciple. When he said the last sentence, Minato also carefully observed Kakashi. After all, Kakashi is now Naruto's teacher. If he rashly finds a new teacher for Naruto, it is likely to cause Kakashi's displeasure. But obviously, Minato was overthinking it. There was no change in Kakashi's expression. Jiraiya-sama? If Naruto is handed over to Jiraiya-sama, it is indeed very reassuring, and Minato-sensei is also a disciple of Jiraiya-sama. I believe he will definitely be able to teach Naruto well. Kakashi spoke with great approval. After all, Kakashi also knows that he is indeed not suitable to be a teacher. He has been Naruto's teacher for so long, and it seems that he has not taught the three of them anything useful. Yes, then Kakashi, Sasuke will be handed over to you. After all, I feel that your ninjutsu should be more suitable for Sasuke. Okay, if Patriarch Fugaku doesn't object, I will seriously teach Sasuke. This is indeed what Kakashi said from the heart. After all, he is so old and doesn't have a disciple. He doesn't want his ninjutsu to be lost. He believes that in the Sage mode, the power of his ninjutsu is not weaker than Raikage. Soon, Sasuke woke up, and Fugaku also agreed to Kakashi to teach his ninjutsu to Sasuke. After all, Fugaku will be very relieved if Sasuke can have a strong backing like Hatake Satoru. While Kakashi was teaching Sasuke ninjutsu, Naruto also happened to meet Jiraiya. Although Minato has been accompanying Naruto all these years, he did not have much time to guide Naruto's training, so this also led to Naruto basically not being able to use Minato's ninjutsu. However, Minato still taught him his most powerful ninjutsu, which is the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. But rather than saying it is teaching, it is better to say it is testing whether Naruto has the talent for space ninjutsu. Unfortunately, Naruto did not have the ability to learn the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Chapter 189, Sasuke and Naruto's Training. After the second exam, there will be a month's time before the third exam, and this month's time is to give these genin ample preparation time. Kakashi has been teaching Uchiha Sasuke his signature technique, Chidori. Although Sasuke has Sharingan and can almost perfectly replicate the ninjutsu he saw, it is not so simple to perfectly master the high difficulty ninjutsu like Chidori, even with Mangekyo Sharingan. Chidori is an A-rank ninjutsu that I created when I was your age. Although its attack power is very strong, it has a drawback. Kakashi leaned on a rock and explained to Sasuke. The first is the common problem of all high-level ninjutsu. To use Chidori, you need to consume a large amount of chakra. Kakashi said, holding up a finger. Secondly, using Chidori requires a very strong dynamic vision to cooperate. Of course, this is easy for you who have Sharingan. Kakashi held up a second finger, but as soon as he held it up, he folded it back again. Okay, now activate your Sharingan and see how much of my Chidori's strength you can replicate. Okay. Sasuke's face showed a hint of excitement, and he couldn't control the smile at the corner of his mouth. The two Tomo Sharingan in his pupils stared closely at Kakashi's hand. Chidori. With Kakashi's seal, a terrifying lightning directly wrapped around Kakashi's right hand. Nowadays, Kakashi can release Chidori without a seal, but in order to facilitate Sasuke's learning, Kakashi still showed the few seals one by one. Watch closely, this is the power of Chidori. Kakashi's body quickly turned, and his right hand slammed into the huge rock behind him. The terrifying piercing force accompanied by a great explosive force instantly shattered the rock behind him. Seeing this scene, Sasuke's expression on his face was completely stunned, and then he showed a strong ecstasy. With this ninjutsu, I can definitely bring that man back to the village. Although Sasuke is still full of anger towards Hatake in his heart, he does not have to kill Hatake like the original, but wants to bring Hatake back to Konohagakure village, kneel in front of the spirits of the Uchiha clan who were killed by him, and apologize. Uchiha Hatake. Hearing Sasuke's low muttering, Kakashi also silently recited this name in his mouth. If you want to bring him back, just relying on this ninjutsu won't work. You should make more effort. Kakashi said in front of Sasuke. Do you know him too? Sasuke raised his head, his eyes shocked as he stared at Kakashi and asked. Of course, after all, your brother is my brother's disciple, and I have met him many times, so I know a little about his strength. Then can you defeat him? Sasuke's eyes stared closely at Sasuke, and his eyes were full of an urgent desire to know the answer. Kakashi pondered for a moment. Although I haven't really fought him, I think the outcome between me and him should be 50-50. Kakashi said neither modestly nor exaggeratedly. As for Hatake, Kakashi is not afraid. The only thing that can make Kakashi wary should be his pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. After all, each Mangekyo Sharingan has its unique ninjutsu. He doesn't know what the technique in Hatake's eyes is, so accidents are inevitable. When Kakashi knew what Uchiha Hatake's Mangekyo Sharingan technique was at that time, even if the ability was complex, Kakashi would have planned all the countermeasures before the battle and would have at least an 80% certainty of defeating the opponent. Only a 50% chance. Sasuke murmured. Although Sasuke's voice was low, Kakashi still heard it clearly. Instantly, a bunch of black lines appeared on Kakashi's face. No battle has 100% certainty. With a 50% chance, the odds of winning in this fight are already substantial. But I need the strength to defeat the opponent 100%. Then you should steadily progress. As long as you grow slowly, there will be a day when you can defeat the opponent. Learning the Chidori is the first step to becoming stronger. You've seen the power of this move. If you can hit him with it, you will definitely be able to bring him back to Konohagakure. Suddenly, Kakashi didn't want to teach Sasuke anymore because Sasuke's current personality was exactly like his when he was young, too ambitious and difficult to discipline. Okay, Kakashi-sensei, please start teaching me now. Sasuke bowed respectfully to Kakashi and spoke. Alright, let's begin. While Kakashi was teaching Sasuke the Chidori, Jiraiya also encountered Naruto. As his father's teacher, Naruto had seen photos of Jiraiya at home, so he recognized him at a glance. Hey? Are you my father's teacher? Naruto looked at the white-haired old man peeking into the women's bath with binoculars, pointing at him, and said in shock with a loud voice. Instantly, the people inside the women's bath noticed a lecherous man bleeding from his nose in a high place. Various washing and even stones were thrown out and directly hit Jiraiya's face. You little brat! After glancing at Naruto, Jiraiya stared fiercely, then spread his legs and started running because the Konohagakure guards had heard the commotion and were rushing towards this direction. However, most of these guards were only Chunin, so they couldn't catch up with Jiraiya's speed. After shaking off a few streets, Jiraiya successfully got away. As the saying goes, love at first sight around the corner. At a turn, Jiraiya once again found that yellow-haired brat he both liked and disliked. You little brat! Jiraiya rubbed Naruto's head with both fists. Damn it, you perverted old man, let go of me. Naruto kicked his legs wildly, but he couldn't break free from Jiraiya's grasp. Are you really Minato's son? Jiraiya released Naruto, and Naruto slumped to the ground. Jiraiya also brought his face close to Naruto's, carefully examining him, and said with some doubt in his tone. Of course, I am my father's son. But you, are you really my father's teacher? Of course, I am the legendary Toad Sage, Jiraiya. Jiraiya summoned a toad, struck a pose he thought was very cool, and said. I think you're the lecherous sage. Chapter 190, the start of the third round exam. A month's time passed in a flash, and the third round of the Chunin exam officially arrived. Even the third Hokage made a long-awaited appearance in a formal public setting. It was said that this was proposed by the Kazekage. After all, as a major event, it was quite normal for the third Hokage to appear. The surrounding stands were already filled with spectators and people maintaining order. On the main stand, Minato sat in the middle, the third Hokage sat on Minato's right, and the Kazekage sat on Minato's left. The first to appear naturally was the Hokage's son, Uzumaki Naruto, who was fighting against the genius of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Neji. Perhaps due to the second round of the exam, Naruto had a lot of opinions about Hyuga Neji. At the same time, Hyuga Neji, because of Naruto's identity, thought that Naruto knew nothing and interfered in other people's affairs, which made him feel very upset. Who does Hokage-sama think will be the winner of this battle? The Kazekage asked Minato in a charming voice. It is said that the blonde ninja is Hokage-sama's child. That's right, out of sentiment, I still hope that my son can win, but out of rationality, Hyuga Neji's chances of winning are higher. After all, he has accumulated more than a year of ninja experience. In the battle, Naruto may fall into a disadvantage. Although he didn't know why, the Kazekage's voice made him feel very uncomfortable, but he still spoke out his analysis. It seems that Hokage-sama doesn't think highly of his own son. The Kazekage chuckled and said. No, Naruto's talent is very good, but the time given to him is too short. If Naruto is given another year, I believe that Naruto also has the strength to defeat the opponent. Is that so? But I do think highly of the strength of the Hokage's son. Maybe the result of this battle is the victory of the Hokage's son. Thank you for your high regard, Kazekage. If possible, I also hope that Naruto can win. The battle started quickly, perhaps because Naruto's education from a young age was not bad, so there was not the one-sided crushing situation in the original. Using multiple shadow clone jutsu, Naruto seriously tangled with Hyuga Neji in taijutsu for a long time. Naruto, come on, Naruto, must win, Naruto, you can do it. In the audience, Kushina was also there, cheering for Naruto. Many of the participating ninjas also hope that Naruto can win. After all, Naruto is a student of the same class as these little strong ones, and Hyuga Neji is one class older than them. And Neji also injured Hinata, causing many of them to have a lot of resentment towards Neji. Although here, Hyuga Hisashi did not die because of those things, so Neji also had a beautiful childhood, but when he was branded with the seal of the bird in the cage, his inner thoughts became twisted. Especially when he learned that the people of the branch family need to die for the people of the main family without any reason, and the people of the main family control the lives of the people of the branch family, Hyuga Neji's psychology has completely twisted. Although his father, Hyuga Hisashi, also discovered Neji's changes and brainwashed Neji several times, it was useless. Neji has his own ideas. Although he was not as mature as Hatake when he was young, when hatred for a person is nurtured in his heart, it is not so easy to eliminate. And Neji has seen several times that the people of the branch family are being bullied by the main family without any scruples, and the people of the branch family have no room to fight back. His inner dark side has become deeper and deeper. So it led to, in the last exam, Neji severely injured Hinata. Although Neji was severely taught by Hisashi after that battle, it was of no use. This only made Neji's hatred for the main family grow more and more. In the early stage of the battle, Naruto, using the advantage of the number of shadow clones, was indeed in the upper hand in the battle with Neji. But as Hyuga Neji performed various ninjutsu of the Hyuga family, including the almost invincible ninjutsu of absolute defense, Naruto's advantage gradually disappeared. In addition, Neji's 8 trigrams 64 palms successfully sealed the acupoints in Naruto's body, making Naruto unable to freely circulate chakra. It seems that the result of this battle has been determined. On the stand, Minato sighed, and at the same time, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed in his heart. After all, when he was 12 years old, he was not so weak. Even Minato thought so, and Hyuga Neji naturally thought the same. It's over, Naruto is going to lose. Sakura looked at Naruto worriedly. Although she usually didn't like Naruto, it was because Sasuke was in the team. But now that Naruto is fighting an outsider, Sakura naturally sides with her own people. That's not necessarily true. At this time, a rather frivolous voice sounded in Sakura's ears. Sakura turned her head and saw a white-haired man in sunglasses. Are you Kakashi's older brother? Although Hatake Satoru's outfit has changed a bit at this time, everything else has not changed at all. Yes. Satoru responded softly. But Naruto's acupoints have been sealed, and he can no longer circulate chakra. How can Naruto win? Sakura was full of doubts at this time. Since the Land of Waves mission ended, Sakura has been curious about Kakashi's older brother, and she has investigated the content that can be found. It's really not surprising that she didn't check it out, but she was shocked when she checked it out. So after knowing that Hatake Satoru was extraordinary, Sakura more or less believed what he said, but now, she really couldn't see where Naruto's chances of winning were. That blonde kid, his trump card is much more terrifying than you think. Hatake Satoru's mouth corner slightly smiled. Through Rikugan, he had observed that Naruto's body had emerged red chakra, which was the chakra of the 9 tails. Under the impact of the violent and evil chakra of the 9 tails, those sealed acupoints have been forcibly opened. Red chakra has emerged outside the body. Seeing this scene, Minato immediately prepared to take action. As long as the 9 tails in Naruto's body appeared to be running wild, Minato would immediately take action to stop the 9 tails. Fortunately, the scene of the rampage did not appear, but just borrowing the chakra of the 9 tails, Neji was no longer Naruto's opponent. As expected of the Hokage, he is willing to let his son become Jinchuriki. The Kazekage suddenly said a sarcasm-weird tone. Same here, Kazekage, I heard that you did the same. Only the third Hokage sat aside, silent, listening to the conversation between the two Kage. he even wanted to laugh a little, but that Kazekage really made the third Hokage feel a strange feeling. Chapter 191, Chidori. The first battle ended with a victory for the famous person. What exactly is that red chakra? Why does it give such a terrifying feeling? Sakura muttered to herself on the side, but it seemed like a question directed at Hatake Satoru. However, Satoru just chuckled and didn't give any answer. If these people knew about Naruto's Nine Tails Jinchuriki identity now, it would be detrimental to Naruto's future growth. They would inevitably develop a huge prejudice against Naruto. And the younger the age at which prejudice is formed, the more deeply rooted it becomes. You'll know in the future, it's not time to tell you yet. Satoru only explained this sentence. It seems that it should be Jiraiya-sensei's teaching. Minato, who was in the stands, saw Naruto using the Nine Tails chakra and immediately understood what was going on. Although he had never taught Naruto how to control the Nine Tails chakra, Kushina often did. But the Nine Tails inside Naruto seemed very tsundere, completely ignoring them at the time, only leaking a bit of chakra when Naruto was angry. Should I say that it's really like Jiraiya-sensei? Although Minato didn't know what method Jiraiya used to let the Nine Tails provide chakra for Naruto, but now it seems that at least the result is good. The results of the following battles were no surprise compared to the original, but the closer to the end of the exam, the more flustered Minato's heart became, because Orochimaru had not revealed his true colors until now. This is not good news for him, after all, the unknown is often the most terrifying. Soon, it was the last exam, with Gaara fighting Uchiha Sasuke. But Gaara had been there for a long time, and there was still no trace of Sasuke. What should we do? Sasuke won't miss this exam, will he? Sakura and Ino said with a worried tone. Even Uchiha Fugaku on the side of the stands was serious and solemn. If it was a defeat, there would be no problem, but if the battle hadn't started and was forfeited, this kind of thing similar to running away without a fight would leave a stain on their Uchiha clan. What is Kakashi doing? Fugaku said in a deep voice. He knew that Sasuke had gone to practice with Kakashi, he also understood Kakashi's character, but he didn't expect that Kakashi would lead Sasuke to be late on such an important occasion. However, at this moment, a breeze blew over the entire Chunin exam venue, accompanied by a few falling leaves. Kakashi and Sasuke appeared directly in the middle of the venue. Sorry, we're not late, are we? Kakashi said this, but there was no sense of apology in his tone. No, but if you're 1 second later, you'll be considered as forfeiting. At this time, the voice of the third examiner, Shiranui Genma, sounded in Kakashi's ear. Hearing this voice, Kakashi's expression was slightly stunned. He remembered that the examiner of the third exam was his brother, so he came so late without fear, but what's going on now? The person changed, he didn't know. Although Kakashi's puzzled expression made Shiranui Genma also puzzled, he didn't know what Kakashi was puzzled about, so he couldn't answer Kakashi's doubts. Originally, Satoru was indeed the examiner of the third exam, but because of Orochimaru's request, Satoru voluntarily resigned from this position to the fourth Hokage, but he didn't notify Kakashi. Hey, why aren't you the examiner? You almost made Sasuke forfeit. Kakashi noticed Satoru in the stands at a glance, and directly used a body flicker jutsu to come to Satoru's side and asked. So it's my fault. Satoru put on an innocent expression, it was clearly you who were about to be late, it had nothing to do with him. Seeing the expression on Satoru's face, Kakashi also directly showed a speechless posture. But I have to say, this month, that kid has become much stronger, he has already reached the boundary between Chunin and Jonin. Now Sasuke is undoubtedly at the forefront of the 12 strong, after all, among the current 12 strong, except for Sasuke, no one has mastered the Chidori, a ninjutsu with a particularly strong attack power. And Sasuke also has Sharingan as an aid, it is not too much to call him the first of these 12 strong. Of course, after all I'm his teacher is. Kakashi said with a smug face. Hehe, then you have to take good care of your disciple, don't let him run away with others. Seeing Kakashi's narcissistic look, Satoru directly hit back. Satoru felt that Sasuke would probably make the same decision as in the original work, to find Orochimaru. After all, Orochimaru has the ability to make Sasuke become strong quickly, while Kakashi can only make Sasuke progress steadily. Compared with steady improvement and rapid improvement, Sasuke, who has a fixation in his heart, is very likely to choose the latter. Hearing what Satoru said, Kakashi's narcissistic expression immediately disappeared, replaced by a serious expression, because he also knew that his brother was right. After a month of getting along with Sasuke, Kakashi found that Sasuke was even more troublesome than he was when he was young. Sasuke was too eager for quick success, and this kind of personality often made Sasuke make some irrational decisions. Don't worry, I will take care of him. Kakashi in this world has not experienced the death of all his teammates and family members, and he has not experienced the situation where he is the only one left in a clan, so in a sense, the two are the same. But maybe Kakashi is worse. After all, Kakashi lost two close friends, and Sasuke only lost his clan members who had nothing to do with him. Or to say, Sasuke lost his brother who had always loved him the most. Kakashi's eyes looking at Sasuke also became more and more serious. Sasuke and Gaara soon fought together. In addition to lightning release, Sasuke's best skill is fire release ninjutsu, but the power of the fire release ninjutsu he can use is too small, and it is impossible to break through Gaara's absolute defense. So Sasuke directly used the move he had been practicing hard for a month, Chidori. With the end of Sasuke's seal, a dazzling thunderbolt appeared directly on Sasuke's right hand, accompanied by a sound similar to thousands of birds singing together. Ah, it's so noisy, what kind of ninjutsu is this? Some people covered their ears and complained. This move is Chidori, because it will have a sound similar to thousands of birds singing together when used, so it is named after it. This is a ninjutsu independently created by Kakashi, and he once used this move to cut off the thunder, so it is also called Reikuri. Guy also explained the origin of this move to the people around him with a serious face. Chapter 192, The Reaction Triggered by Chidori. Everyone who didn't know about this technique were shocked by Guy's introduction. A technique that could cut through lightning, how terrifying that must be. Unconsciously, several people looked at Kakashi with a hint of admiration in their eyes. Creating such a powerful ninjutsu, how powerful must the person who created this ninjutsu be, that is self-evident. For so many people's admiring eyes, Kakashi also squinted his eyes, and smiled embarrassingly. After all, he had rarely received so many people's admiring eyes. Apart from some older ninjas who knew him, now the younger generation of ninjas, apart from knowing that he was called Hatake Kakashi and was the disciple of the fourth Hokage, almost no one knew what experiences and strength he had. Not bad. Uchiha Fugaku saw Sasuke use this technique, and also nodded with satisfaction. At the same time, he felt relieved for his wise decision to hand Sasuke over to Kakashi. He knew that Kakashi did not hide anything from Sasuke, because in the current ninja world, as far as he knew, apart from Kakashi, no one else mastered the Chidori. Teacher Kakashi is too biased, he has such a powerful technique but he doesn't teach me, only Sasuke, it's too unfair. Knowing that this powerful technique was Kakashi's, Naruto immediately became unhappy, shouting at Kakashi's ear, his face seemed to despise Kakashi's bias. It's not that I don't want to teach you, it's just that your chakra attribute does not contain lightning release, even if I teach you, you can't use it. And this technique needs Sharingan, without Sharingan, learning this technique can only become a burden. Kakashi followed Naruto's explanation. No, I don't believe it, Kakashi-sensei is biased, unless you teach me a technique as powerful. Naruto continued to bother him. Looking at Naruto who continued to bother him, Kakashi's heart was also a bit helpless. For his disciple, he really couldn't beat or scold him. After all, he was also his teacher's disciple, and he was also the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. His status in the village could be said to be higher than his. Even if he had something, he would definitely not let Naruto have anything. Don't make a fuss, Naruto, Chidori really doesn't suit your ninjutsu. At this time, Kushina also comforted Naruto on the side. But mom, in this case, Sasuke's strength has already surpassed me. Naruto said with a mournful face, tears seemed to fall at any moment, everyone knows, face what kind of person, to make what kind of expression. Naruto thought that anyone could surpass him, but he absolutely could not be surpassed by Sasuke. Then I'll let Jiraiya-sensei teach you a ninjutsu that is not weaker than Chidori, how about that? Seeing Naruto's appearance, Kushina's heart was about to break. Although in normal life, Kushina was a very hot-tempered person, Naruto had not been beaten by her less, but her character was that her child could only be bullied by herself, and no one else could bully. Really, Mom? The tears in Naruto's eyes disappeared immediately, replaced by a golden light. Yes, Mom won't lie to you. That's great, Mom. Seeing Naruto's heartfelt cheer, Kushina's face also showed a slight smile, but as soon as she turned her head, she looked at Kakashi with a gloomy face. After all, Naruto's mood was not good just now, and Kakashi was indirectly concerned. Seeing Kushina's gloomy face, Kakashi's heart was also a bit scared. Kakashi, I remember you can use that technique too, why don't you teach Naruto how to do it? Kushina brought her face close to Kakashi's, speaking in an unfriendly tone, as if Kakashi dared to utter a word of refusal, she would directly punch him. Cold sweat suddenly dripped from Kakashi's face. Although he was not afraid of Kushina with his current strength, even if Kushina entered the Nine Tails Chakra mode, Kakashi also had the power to fight. But perhaps it was because he had been shadowed by Kushina since he was a child, which caused him to feel a great fear of Kushina now. That ninjutsu, although I can also use it, but I also copied it through Sharingan. If I want to teach Naruto, I'm afraid there will be some difficulties, it will only mislead people, so this matter is still left to the fourth Hokage or Jiraiya-sama. Although he felt a lot of pressure, Kakashi still refused to say, because he really didn't know how to teach that ninjutsu to Naruto. Although he knew the principle of that ninjutsu, he estimated that with Naruto's understanding, telling him, he wouldn't understand. Mom, what is that ninjutsu? Hearing the conversation between Kushina and Kakashi, Naruto was already full of curiosity about this ninjutsu. That ninjutsu is called Raise Nan, which was created by your father himself. Kushina said proudly, as if the person who created this ninjutsu was her, but she also had the capital to be proud, after all, the person who created this ninjutsu was her husband. Wow, it was actually created by Dad himself. Then which one is stronger, this ninjutsu and teacher Kakashi's Chidori? Of course, the Raise Nan created by your dad is more powerful. Without thinking, Kushina blurted out. Just as Kakashi wanted to retort that his Chidori was stronger, he suddenly felt a huge pressure from Kushina, and immediately choked back the words he wanted to say. The strength of ninjutsu is not related to the level of ninjutsu, but has a great relationship with the person using ninjutsu. For example, a common C-rank ninjutsu in the hands of a Jonin can exert a strength not inferior to an A-rank ninjutsu. Similarly, an A-rank ninjutsu, in the hands of a weak person, may not even be as good as a C-rank ninjutsu. Perhaps it was out of protection for his younger brother, or perhaps it was out of a teacher's occupational disease, Satoru explained on the side. Yes, that's right, so Naruto, the strength of ninjutsu is not important, what is important is to make yourself stronger. Okay, Kakashi-sensei, I will definitely make myself stronger. Satoru's words just now did not hit Naruto, but made Naruto more excited, and his heart was filled with more motivation. Yes. Hearing Naruto say this, Kakashi also smiled and nodded. Naruto is good at this point, he is nerve-wracking, and he is easy to coax, but what they just said is indeed correct. The Kazekage on the stand saw Sasuke use Chidori, and the interested look in his eyes became more intense. He stretched out his long tongue and couldn't help but lick his lips. Chapter 193, The Collapse Plan of Konohagakure begins. Facing the terrifying momentum of Chidori, even Gaara felt a huge threat. The sand armor directly surrounded his whole body, forming a very closed sand sphere. Humph, watch me break your turtle shell this time. Since being scared by Gaara last time, Sasuke has been wanting to regain his footing on Gaara. As the sound of Chidori became more and more piercing, and the explosion of lightning became more and more powerful, Sasuke's figure also got a rapid increase, almost forming an afterimage. Wherever he passed, whether it was walls or the ground, a trench appeared. In the stands, both Kankuro and Temari were looking at Gaara, who was enclosed in the sphere of sand, with worried expressions. After all, they were not sure whether Gaara's sand armor could withstand such a powerful attack. With the final piercing sound of Chidori, Sasuke's arm pierced through Gaara's sand armor like it was piercing through tofu. However, the triumphant expression on Sasuke's face immediately disappeared, replaced by a very serious one. For some reason, Sasuke felt a very violent aura from within the sand armor, and his subconscious told him that if he didn't pull his hand out now, his arm might be ruined. Thinking of this, Sasuke suddenly pulled out his arm and quickly retreated. Then, at the gap where Sasuke broke the sand armor, a huge arm with patterns and a strange feeling directly attacked Sasuke from the gap. But perhaps because Sasuke had been on guard all the time, so the moment he noticed something was wrong, Sasuke retreated several meters again. Feeling this ominous aura, Uchiha Fugaku on the stand immediately stood up. The three Tomo Sharingan directly appeared in Fugaku's pupils, and he looked at the arm that looked like a monster with a serious face. What's wrong? Seeing Fugaku's posture, Mikoto asked with a worried face. Although Mikoto was also a ninja, her ninja talent was not very good, and after marrying Uchiha Fugaku, she basically didn't understand anything about ninjas. This feeling, this chakra, it's a tailed beast. The Tsunagakuer ninja actually sent a Jinchuriki to participate in this exam. Uchiha Fugaku said seriously. Although he believed that his children were absolutely top-notch among their peers and absolutely talented players, they were obviously not enough in front of a Jinchuriki who could control a little bit of the tailed beast's power. And Gaara on the opposite side was obviously someone who had mastered a bit of the tailed beast's power. What? Mikoto heard what Fugaku said, and she was also shocked and stood up. She covered her mouth with one hand and said with a worried expression. Fugaku actually noticed that the little devil of the Tsunagakuer ninja was a bit wrong at the beginning, but at that time he only regarded Gaara as a person with special abilities, and he never thought that the other party would be a Jinchuriki. If he had known earlier that Sasuke's opponent was a Jinchuriki, then no matter what Fugaku said, he would have to stop this exam. I didn't expect the Kazekage to let a Jinchuriki participate in this Chunin exam. Minato said with a very gloomy face. He didn't notice that the little devil was a Jinchuriki at the beginning, and the 9 tails inside his body didn't tell him either. Hehe, didn't the Hokage also let a Jinchuriki participate in this exam? After the Kazekage sneered, he said, his tone full of ridicule and playfulness. It seems that the Kazekage really trusts our Konohagakuer, isn't he afraid to leave the tailed beast here forever? When he said the last sentence, you could hear a dangerous tone in Minato's voice. Believe in Konohagakuer, which has the strongest tailed beast, the 9 tails, should not spy on our Tsunagakuer village's mere 1 tail. The tone of the Kazekage's speech seemed not afraid of the 1 tail being snatched at all, as if this tailed beast was not their village's general. This indifferent tone directly made Minato's heart feel a strong vigilance. And on the exam field, Shiranui Genma, who was the examiner, had already blocked Sasuke's front with a vigilant face. Even he, a Jonin, felt a strong threat, let alone a genin. The sand armor that wrapped around Gaara gradually shattered, revealing that Gaara had already transformed into a beast with half of his body, and there was a piercing wound on his left chest, where blood was continuously flowing down. Impossible, Gaara is actually injured. Seeing this scene, Kankuro and Temari's hearts were suddenly clenched, filled with tension and a hint of worry. At this moment, you could see that Gaara's face was full of a ferocious expression, with shock and madness on his face. This trip to Konohagakuer had experienced too many unforgettable things. First, a Konohagakuer Jonin easily broke through his absolute defense and directly knocked him out. Now another Konohagakuer genin directly injured him with a powerful ninjutsu. This was the first time he had bled since he was a child. It's not good, Gaara is going to rampage. Noticing Gaara's abnormality, Baki immediately spoke nervously. Now is not the time for Gaara to rampage, but they can't stop it. In that case, the plan can only be implemented in advance. Just then, one of the Anbu members behind the audience directly formed a seal, and countless white feathers fell from the sky, making everyone feel dizzy. In an instant, all the Konohagakuer ninjas on the scene were on alert, because they knew that this was a genjutsu. Open! All the Konohagakuer ninjas who noticed the anomaly formed a seal, disrupting the flow of chakra in their bodies, and their brains woke up instantly. And when they woke up, several Tsunagakuer ninja and Otagakuer ninja had already appeared in front of them. Feeling the strong hostility emanating from them, it was clear that they were not good at first sight. Minato and the third were just about to take action, but 4 Otagakuer ninja suddenly appeared and surrounded them. Ninjutsu, 4 Purple Flame Formation. A purple transparent barrier instantly surrounded Minato and the third. Kazekage, what are you trying to do? Minato asked seriously, his face full of murderous intent. Through this barrier, he could already see some parts of Konohagakuer village that had been destroyed. Isn't it obvious, Minato, Kazekage is trying to start a war? At this time, the third Hokage, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. He, it's as expected of being a teacher, he really understands me. Suddenly, Kazekage's tone changed, and this tone instantly made Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen feel a familiar feeling. Chapter 194, Edo Tensei. Orochimaru. Seeing Kazekage take off his disguise, the third and fourth both showed a very surprised expression on their faces. Obviously, they didn't expect that Kazekage just now was actually Orochimaru in disguise. Teacher, Minato, we haven't seen each other for so long, you won't forget my voice, will you? Orochimaru sneered and said, because the appearance of this body is indeed not Orochimaru's appearance, but a woman's appearance. Orochimaru, I didn't expect you to become like this and dare to do such a terrible thing to Konohagakure. If I had known this, I should have killed you then. Although the third Hokage can't know what the specific situation outside the barrier is now, but looking at the thick smoke coming from various places in Konohagakure village, it must have suffered a lot of damage. What happened? As soon as he heard the explosion, Hatake Satoru also immediately ran out of the shop, looking at the tragic scene on the street, his face was full of surprise. It has been many years since Konohagakure village was attacked. Go to hell! Just then, a rather wild voice suddenly sounded behind Hatake Satoru, and an Otagakure ninja raised his knife and slashed at Hatake Satoru. Satoru's face turned cold instantly, his body turned sharply, and his right arm directly burst out with dazzling lightning, instantly piercing the opponent's chest. The blood that sprayed out fell on his face. Even though he hadn't killed anyone for a long time, Hatake Satoru's face still didn't change color. Has Konohagakure village been invaded? It seems that something must have happened at the exam site. But as for the situation over there, Hatake Satoru is not worried at all. After all, his two sons and the second Hokage are there. If there is any problem over there, then the situation in Konohagakure village is basically over. But these small fries will be dealt with by me. A hint of coldness flashed in Satoru's eyes. Although there are also many ninjas in Konohagakure who are resisting, most people are at the Chunin exam site, so other places are relatively weak in troops. Although I haven't made a move for several years, my strength should not be rusty. Looking at the several ninjas gradually surrounding him, Satoru's expression was quite confident. Satoru subconsciously stretched his hand behind him, but he didn't touch anything. His expression was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted immediately. White Fang is no longer there. Satoru smiled helplessly. Go together, this guy is not ordinary. Because Satoru used a transformation technique, no one could recognize him, and even if Satoru didn't use a transformation technique, they probably wouldn't recognize him. After all, Satoru hasn't shown his face in the ninja world for nearly 20 years. Even if someone knows him, it should be the older generation now. Forget it, just use the chakra blade. Satoru's fist clenched slightly, and a blue and white lightsaber appeared in Satoru's hand. This was condensed with lightning attribute chakra. To condense a violent and invisible lightning attribute chakra into a lightsaber, it can be seen that Satoru has mastered the lightning attribute chakra to a perverted degree. This shows that even though Satoru has not fought for more than 10 years, he has not relaxed his practice. The thunder blade in his hand just swung lightly, and a thunder blade poured out instantly. Wherever the thunder blade passed, there were traces of scorching, and the people who passed by were more like tofu blocks, as if they had not encountered any obstacles. This old guy is so strong, when did Konohagakure have such a powerful ninja? The few people who survived saw just now, and they were immediately stunned. At this time, they have already intended to retreat, but Satoru, who has destroyed the village, will not let them escape. Since you're here, nourish the land of Konohagakure well. The reason why Konohagakure is so rich is largely related to you fertilizers. Satoru's mouth corner slightly smiled, instantly making a few people feel like they were facing a demon. Run quickly! One of them shouted, and then their figures immediately scattered and fled in all directions. Humph, if you guys can escape from my hands, then my title of White Fang of Konohagakure would be in vain. The thunder blade in his hand swung directly, and the sky was immediately covered with dark clouds. The clouds in the dark clouds seemed to be pulled, and several thunders directly struck those people. Although they were not all killed, they were only left with a breath, their skin was charred, and the inside was tender, which is commonly known as charred outside and tender inside. If you get close, you can still smell a scent of meat. At this time, the Chunin exam field was also very chaotic. Kakashi and other Jonin were already fighting with Tsunagakure ninja and Otagakure ninja. Hatake Satoru was on the side, lying on the railing, propping his chin with one hand, looking somewhat interested, and it seemed very boring to look at everything in front of him. And Kakashi, who had just knocked a Tsunagakure ninja Jonin flying, saw Hatake Satoru lying on the side, with some doubts in his eyes, but he didn't ask much. He felt that Hatake Satoru must have his own calculations in his heart. Naruto and the others also followed the original work and went to chase Gaara. And inside the four purple flame formation, Namikaze Minato, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Orochimaru stood opposite each other. Orochimaru, do you think you can be our opponent by yourself? The third Hokage asked sternly, and at the same time, his heart was full of sorrow. Orochimaru could not survive in the joint hands of him and Minato. Even if he wanted to let go, Minato would definitely not let go. Minato also looked at Orochimaru with a serious face. He believed that Orochimaru was not such a foolish person. He would not break into this dead end alone. Of course not, if the opponent is just a teacher, I still have some confidence, but now there is Minato, I certainly have a backhand. After speaking, Orochimaru clapped his hands together. Two coffins marked with 1 and 2 appeared directly in front of Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen. What is this? Seeing this scene, both Hokages widened their eyes at the same time, obviously thinking of what this ninjutsu is. Edo Tensei? Orochimaru, you dare to blaspheme the souls of the first Hokage and second Hokage. The third Hokage said in a fiery tone, and even Minato's eyes were full of murderous intent when he looked at Orochimaru. He thought that if he was reanimated after his death and attacked his village, how angry his heart would be. Don't be so scared. It's not over yet. As soon as Orochimaru's voice fell, 2 observations rose on both sides, marked with 3 and 4 respectively. Come on, let me take a good look, teacher, and Minato, how are you going to deal with these 4 people? The smile on Orochimaru's face became thicker. Chapter 195, Battle of the Six Cage. As the coffins marked 1, 2, 3, and 4 fell, the bodies of the first Hokage, second Hokage, third Kazekage, and fourth Kazekage appeared directly in front of Namikaze Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen. Seeing these 4 people, both of them were stunned. Orochimaru had collected the bodies of the first and second Hokage, which they could understand. After all, Orochimaru was once a ninja of Konohagakure, and it was normal to extract cells from the first and second. But the appearance of the bodies of the third Kazekage and fourth Kazekage was really unexpected to the 2 of them. The third Kazekage had been missing for a long time, and the third war was caused by the disappearance of the third Kazekage. They didn't expect Orochimaru to get something about the third Kazekage. And the body of the fourth Kazekage was the most surprising one. After all, they all thought that this plan was jointly led by Orochimaru and the fourth Kazekage. But now it seems that this is not the case. The fourth Kazekage is already dead, which means that this matter was planned by Orochimaru himself. Only to see a heat rising from the 4 corpses, the 4 slowly opened their eyes. Their eyes were first filled with a bit of confusion, and then, they became sharp. Orochimaru, what are you summoning me for again? The third Kazekage tilted his head slightly and said with some annoyance. And the rest of the 3 first looked down to check their own physical condition. Is this the Edo Tensei Jutsu? The second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, asked with some surprise. First Hokage, second Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Namikaze Minato called out at the same time. Yo, monkey, it's been a long time, you're so old. The first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said with some sigh. But what's going on? I'm sorry, first Hokage, sensei, I didn't teach my disciple well, and let him disturb your rest. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, said with a guilty face. Orochimaru, you bastard, you dare to assassinate me. Then, the voice of the fourth Kazekage, full of anger, also sounded. The third Kazekage looked at the fourth Kazekage, and there was some surprise in his eyes. Raza, I didn't expect you to die too. I'm sorry, third Kazekage, I didn't protect Tsunagakure village well. Although Raza doesn't know what Orochimaru will do to Tsunagakure village after his death, it definitely won't be a good thing. At this time, Hatake Satoru also came to the outside of the 4 purple flame formation, looking at the 4 shadows that were Edo Tensei. His expression showed a hint of surprise, because the chakra contained in the bodies of these 4 shadows was very powerful. Although it is not enough to show all the strength of these people before their death, like the first Hokage, they can show 60% of their strength, and Raza has already recovered 80% of his strength before his death. This is not like the semi-finished Edo Tensei in the original Chunin exam. I'm very sorry, Minato, originally I wanted you to solve other troubles, and I alone would hold Orochimaru, but now it seems that this situation, I have to trouble you. Namikaze Minato nodded, and his eyes were also full of fighting spirit. Being able to fight with strong people like the first Hokage and the second Hokage made Minato's body have a feeling of blood boiling. Plus Hatake Satoru, even if we face the 5 of them, we also have a chance of winning. Although the first Hokage and second Hokage are very powerful, the third Hokage mainly believes in the strength of Minato and Satoru, and he can also feel that the strength of the first Hokage and the second Hokage is not at its peak before death. I'm very sorry, third Hokage, Orochimaru has made a deal with Satoru, so Satoru can't make a move in this battle, so this battle can only rely on the 2 of us. Even though he said so, Minato's face did not show a worried look because Hatake Satoru could not make a move. How dare Hatake Satoru do this? The third Hokage's face immediately showed a look of anger. This 4 purple flame formation may be an unbreakable barrier for other ninjas, but for Hatake Satoru, it is easy to break this barrier. And it's best to stabilize the battle with these 4 in a certain environment, otherwise, Konohagakure might be over because of this battle. Minato continued, this first Hokage and second Hokage, Konohagakure has records about them, naturally knowing how strong they are. And the third Kazekage and fourth Kazekage are recent figures, they naturally know more about them, they all know that to fight with them, it is absolutely not suitable to expand the battle. Okay, the reminiscing is over, now we can get to the point. Orochimaru smiled gloomily, his arm turned into 4 snakes, the snake head was biting a kunao tied with a special rune, and it was directly stuffed into the heads of the 4 people. I'm sorry, monkey, it seems that I have to trouble you after death. You can hear that when the first Hokage said this, his tone was full of guilt, and then he completely lost consciousness. At the same time as he lost consciousness, the vitality emanating from his body became more intense, and his momentum was even greater. Be careful, Minato, the attack is coming. The third Hokage immediately took off his Hokage robe, revealing the battle suit inside, and the fourth also revealed the ninja costume inside the Hokage robe. Understood. Minato closed his eyes and opened them again, his red eyes appeared, and the pupils also turned into frog eyes. Sage mode, now Minato can enter instantly. But the disadvantage of instant entry is that there is not much senjutsu chakra in the body, but for Minato, this is not a big deal, because he now uses Sage mode as a supplement. If he is not an opponent under Sage mode, Minato will also instantly enter Nine Tails mode, and merge Nine Tails mode and Sage mode with each other, and then become a more powerful posture. Under this posture, even if Minato doesn't say he is invincible, he can be regarded as one of the top 2 powerhouses in the ninja world. Summoning technique, Inma. The third slapped the ground with his hand, and an old monkey appeared behind the third. Hiruzen, what's going on? Inma was also shocked when he saw the 5 people in front of him. Although he had never seen the third Kazekage and the fourth Kazekage, he could also feel the strong aura emanating from the other 2 people. As for the other 3 people, he is too familiar with them. There's no time to talk nonsense, Inma, the battle is about to start. Okay. Inma responded, turned into a golden hoop stick and was directly held in Hiruzen's hand. Then Hiruzen and Minato jumped immediately, although black iron sand and golden sand appeared under their feet, the third Kazekage and the fourth Kazekage had already taken action. Is this the Kazekage's Kekkei Genkai? The 2 stared at the sand on the ground with a serious face, and their hearts were extremely heavy. Chapter 196, Kakashi's joining. The 2 individuals who leaped into mid-air instantly felt a dangerous aura. They quickly turned around, the third Hokage used his adamantine staff to resist the first Hokage, while the fourth Hokage used his kunao to resist the second Hokage. However, due to the first Hokage and second Hokage being in a higher position and the element of surprise, Hiruzen and Minato fell into the sand iron and gold sand below. Seeing this, the third Kazekage and fourth Kazekage naturally pursued their advantage, using the gold sand and iron sand to entangle Hiruzen and Minato. But as the sand climbed onto Minato, his figure disappeared directly into the sand pile. The third picked up his adamantine staff and swept around, the powerful wind instantly cleared the surrounding gold sand and iron sand. This can't go on, Minato. The third Hokage talked to Minato with a serious face. Unlike the robust Minato, Sarutobi Hiruzen could be said to be in his twilight years. Plus, he hadn't done any fighting or training in recent years, so it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say his body was rusty. Third Hokage, I'll leave the 2 Kazekages to you. I'll handle the first Hokage and second Hokage. Minato, who had teleported to the other end of the barrier, spoke. Are you sure, Minato? Although Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that the first Hokage and second Hokage didn't have the terrifying strength they had in life, they were still two very powerful cage-level individuals. Even if they could only exert half of their strength, that was still cage-level. Don't worry, third Hokage, leave it to me. Minato gave the third Hokage a slight smile. Seeing this smile, for some reason, the third Hokage's heart settled down. Perhaps this was why Minato was called the Little Sunday. Even though he had gained a lot of imposing aura, this attribute of the little sun that could warm people's hearts had not disappeared. At this time, Kakashi had also finished cleaning up the miscellaneous soldiers around the Chunin exam field and came to the barrier. Looking at the scene inside the barrier, he immediately frowned. Captain, what should we do now? An Anbu appeared next to Kakashi and asked. Even though Kakashi had already resigned from the position of Anbu captain, the old members still had great faith in him, except for those who had just joined the Anbu. This barrier is not something you can handle. Even if you break into the barrier, the fight inside is not something you can participate in. Looking at the battle of the six cage inside the barrier, Kakashi's heart was also filled with long-lost passion. Now, in order to prolong the battle time with the opponent, Kakashi would subconsciously suppress his own strength. This led to him being able to have a close fight with anyone and narrowly win in the end. But when he met someone stronger, Kakashi didn't need to suppress his own strength. You guys go help others. Leave this place to me. Kakashi said to the Anbu again, not only because he wanted to participate in the fight inside, but also because one of the people fighting inside was his teacher. Yes. After several Anbu responded, they immediately disappeared. Because Kakashi was right, they were of no use here. It was better to go where they could play their part. Brother, why aren't you making a move yet? Even if Kakashi was a bit slow at this moment, he definitely noticed that something was off with Hatake Satoru, and asked with a slightly wary expression. After all, under normal circumstances, with such a big incident happening in Konohagakure, Hatake Satoru naturally couldn't just sit back and do nothing. But not only did Hatake Satoru do just that, he even watched with great interest. If you gave him a bucket of popcorn, he might even treat this place like a movie theater. I'm sorry, but you'll have to handle this battle on your own, Hatake Satoru said with an apologetic expression. Why? Did you make some kind of deal with Orochimaru? You're really smart, as expected of my little brother. So, you should try your best now. Hatake Satoru patted Kakashi's shoulder, then once again turned his gaze back to the battle within the barrier. At this time, Kushina, who was wearing a yellow-tailed beast cloak, also jumped up. Looking at the barrier in front of her, she raised both hands and directly fired a tailed beast bomb. Instantly, the four purple flame formation was bombarded and began to wobble, looking like it could break at any moment. The four Otagakure ninjas supporting the barrier directly spat out a mouthful of blood, their faces instantly turning pale. One more shot, and it'll break. Seeing this, a look of joy appeared on Kushina's face. This tailed beast bomb, for Kushina, had almost no consumption. Just as Kushina was preparing to make another move, Minato's stern voice suddenly came from inside the barrier. Stop, Kushina! Hearing this voice, Kushina was slightly stunned, then dispersed the tailed beast bomb in her hand. If the barrier is broken, the battle will affect the entire village. While using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to dodge the attacks of the first and second Hokage, he explained. What should we do then? Kushina asked in a somewhat anxious tone. All her attacks were simple and brutal. If she wanted to concentrate all her power on one point, she simply couldn't do it. The carefree her simply couldn't achieve such precise chakra control. Leave it to me. Kakashi lifted his forehead protector, unsealed his Sharingan, and instantly turned into Mangekyo Sharingan, then stared intently at a certain spot in the barrier. Kamui. As Kakashi's Sharingan started to rotate, the barrier directly twisted, and a huge gap appeared instantly. Taking advantage of this time, Kakashi immediately rushed in. Kushina also wanted to follow Kakashi in, but unfortunately, she was a step too late, and the barrier had already been repaired. Damn it! Kushina cursed under her breath, and directly punched the barrier. Immediately, Kushina's fist felt a burning sensation, but under the healing power of the tailed beast, it quickly recovered. Kakashi, go help the third Hokage. Seeing Kakashi break into the barrier, Minato immediately spoke. Okay. At this moment, seeing that the third Hokage had already been surrounded by sand iron and gold sand, Kakashi held the Reikiri in both hands, and immediately rushed over, directly splitting the sand around the third. "You're here, Kakashi." Seeing Kakashi appear in front of him, the third Hokage breathed a sigh of relief. If he were younger, dealing with these two puppets would not be a problem, but now it was impossible. "Kakashi, you take one person." "Okay." And as for Orochimaru, the mastermind behind all this, he stood to the side, smiling as he watched everything, as if he had everything under control. Kakashi being able to get in was indeed a bit surprising to him, but don't forget, he hadn't made a move yet. Chapter 197, The Arrival of Jiraiya. "Kakashi, I'll leave the fourth Kazekage, Raza, to you. I'll take on the third Kazekage. My old bones should be enough to handle a third Kazekage who's not at his peak." Sarutobi Hiruzen and the third Kazekage can be said to be from the same era, so both sides have a certain understanding of each other. And since the third Kazekage doesn't have any rationality now, in terms of battle intelligence, the third Hokage can be said to have the upper hand. "No problem." Kakashi's face showed an eager look. This was the first time he had a shadow as an opponent. Although Raza's strength was probably only about 80% of what it was in his lifetime, it could still serve as a benchmark for Kakashi to test his own strength. Magnet release, iron sand drizzle. The third Kazekage formed a seal with both hands, and a large amount of iron sand appeared behind him. It formed into thin iron needles in the air and quickly shot towards the third Hokage. The dense degree was like a drizzle, which was very consistent with the name of this ninjutsu, leaving no room for evasion. Seeing this move, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face immediately became serious. He placed the Ruyi Jinggubang in front of him and began to rotate it continuously, blocking the dense iron sand needles. "Hiruzen, dodge as much as you can. My old bones can't take this kind of attack. It's very painful." Inma in Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand spoke. "Okay." Hiruzen responded, but he was also old now, and his actions were not as agile as before. So, to dodge this kind of fast attack, for the current Sarutobi Hiruzen, it was basically an impossible task. At this time, on the outskirts of Konohagakure village, several giant snakes appeared outside the village, constantly attacking the village walls and barriers. The attacks of ordinary ninjas were like tickling these giant snakes. Only Jonin could inflict considerable damage on these giant snakes. However, because Orochimaru had made ample preparations for this plan, the summoned giant snakes could reach as many as 10, not to mention those powerful two-headed and three-headed giant snakes. Jonin Ibiki, if this goes on, this line of defense will be broken sooner or later. The Jonin currently responsible for hindering the actions of these giant snakes was Marino Ibiki. Although he looked fierce and was very strong, he was not a ninja who fought head-on. He was a ninja responsible for interrogation and torture. No one who fell into Ibiki's hands could keep any secrets from him. "What should we do?" Ibiki also looked at these giant snakes with a serious face. Now, he didn't have any Jonin to use. He could only use the human sea tactic to slow down these giant snakes. But in this way, the damage to Konohagakure was too great. Although a few Anbu had just arrived and successfully killed a giant snake with a series of ninjutsu, this also caused those few Anbu to consume a lot. For a while, they didn't have the strength to solve another giant snake. Ninjutsu, summoning technique, toad suppression art. Just then, a voice suddenly rang out in the air. Everyone looked up to see a black dot slowly falling in their line of sight, getting bigger and bigger. Then, with a bang, it directly landed on the three-headed snake. It directly crushed the three-headed snake into a puddle of blood. Only then did everyone see clearly that the one who crushed the three-headed snake was a giant toad carrying two swords. The giant toad had its arms crossed over its shoulders, looking very cool. And on the head of this giant toad, there was a man with long white hair. Seeing the newcomer, a smile appeared on Ibiki's face. Obviously, he recognized the identity of the newcomer. The arrival of this person instantly relaxed Ibiki's heart. After all, this was Jiraiya-sama, who shared the same title as Orochimaru. With Jiraiya-sama's strength, dealing with these stinky snakes was more than enough. "Orochimaru, you bastard, you dare to do such a thing!" Standing on high ground, looking at the smoke-filled Konohagakure village, a wave of anger appeared on Jiraiya's face. He originally thought that even if Orochimaru became worse, he wouldn't attack his own village, his own teacher. But now, he completely underestimated Orochimaru's bottom line. "Minato, teacher, I hope you're okay." Looking at the discovery of the Chunin exam field, Jiraiya could feel that there was an extremely intense battle going on there. Although he wanted to help there now, it was obviously more important to deal with these snakes. And he now believed in Minato's strength. But this was also Jiraiya not knowing who the enemy was. If he knew who the enemy was, Jiraiya definitely wouldn't be as calm as he is now. And inside the barrier, Minato was a bit powerless to deal with the first Hokage and second Hokage alone. You are worthy of inheriting the name of Hokage, you haven't disgraced the name of Hokage. Just then, the first Hokage suddenly spoke. Hearing this, both Minato and Orochimaru were stunned. They didn't expect that a person who had been controlled by Edo Tensei would still have rationality. And you use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu even more powerfully than me, faster than me, you haven't disgraced my Flying Thunder God. Then, another shocking scene happened, the second Hokage also spoke. How could this be? At this time, Orochimaru's heart was a bit panicked. If these two were out of control, then he would be in a very dangerous situation now. Don't worry, when Tobirama created this ninjutsu, we already anticipated this situation. So we left a little backhand in the soul. This backhand can only allow us to keep our rationality in battle, but can't resist the actions of the caster. Hearing this, Orochimaru breathed a sigh of relief. As long as this technique didn't fail, it was fine. Otherwise, if he had to face Minato alone, he might really have to be ready to flee in defeat. But fourth Hokage, with only this level of strength, you can't stop both of us at the same time. The first Hokage said with a heavy face. But his hands were not slow at all. One by one, huge trees directly rose from the ground and rushed towards Minato. And Minato was also using Kunao to resist. If he couldn't resist, Minato would also use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to transfer. But because the second Hokage also mastered the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, although his understanding of the Flying Thunder God Jutsu might not be as good as his now, when using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, Minato couldn't relax his vigilance as usual. After all, he also had to be careful of the second Hokage's Flying Thunder God's sneak attack. Chapter 198, Fugaku's Manjikyu ability. If it's just one of us, Tobirama, you can handle it with your strength. So if you don't have stronger power, you should run away quickly. Fourth. Senju Hashirama saw that the fourth Hokage's strength had a lot of room for future development. Moreover, he mastered the Flying Thunder God Jutsu and could easily leave this barrier. He couldn't die here because of them. As the Hokage of Konohagakure, my duty is to protect everything related to Konohagakure. How could I flee from the battlefield? The next second, Minato's body directly appeared behind Senju Hashirama, and a big ball raised Nan instantly destroyed half of Senju Hashirama's body. Well done, fourth Hokage, I fully agree with your idea. If so, then you should defeat me and my brother with the determination to die. At this time, Senju Tobirama's voice also came from behind Minato. At some point, a Flying Thunder God Kunao appeared under Minato's feet. Tobirama raised the short knife in his hand and chopped it towards Minato. But the next moment, Minato's figure directly disappeared in front of the second, and when he appeared again, he was on the opposite side of the two. And the first Hokage, Minato, who had half of his body destroyed, his broken body was like a pile of torn paper, constantly recovering. It's useless, to defeat us, you must either seal us or control the caster to voluntarily undo the Edo Tensei technique. Senju Tobirama glanced at Orochimaru, and his heart was full of anger towards Orochimaru. If he had known this, he should not have created this ninjutsu in the first place. Unexpectedly, in the end, he also became a victim of this ninjutsu. So fourth Hokage, you still have to try everything to seal us. This sentence was said by Senju Hashirama. While speaking, Senju Hashirama also noticed the situation of the other two battlefields. The performance of the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, was average. Perhaps because of his age, he couldn't take any advantage over the third Kazekage. As for the other young man with white hair, it also made Senju Hashirama's eyes bright. Although he didn't know how the other party got that Sharingan, even without that pair of Sharingan, the other party also had cage-level strength and could also enter Sage mode. For Konohagakure village to produce such an amazing young man, the first Hokage was very pleased. Of course, I also know the sealing technique, but before sealing the two of you, I also want to see how terrifying the strength of the two legendary ninjas is. Hearing Minato's words, the expressions on the faces of Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama were different. Senju Hashirama's expression was somewhat surprised and also some joy. He felt that Minato said this, he definitely had the confidence to seal them. This shows that the fourth Hokage's strength is very strong, and what he has shown now is far from his full strength. And Senju Tobirama's face was more serious and solemn. He thought Minato was a bit too confident. If that's the case, then I won't suppress myself. Senju Hashirama clapped his hands, and a sage face mask appeared on his face instantly. Wood release, advent of a world of trees. Senju Hashirama clasped his hands, and suddenly, countless tall trees directly rose from the ground. Everyone inside the barrier was affected. Even the iron sand and gold sand created by the third Kazekage and fourth Kazekage disappeared in an instant and became nutrients for the trees. Is this the strength of the first Hokage-sama? Kakashi and Sarutobi Hiruzen swiftly retreated, dodging the towering trees that sprouted around them. In just a few seconds, the barrier was filled with trees, obscuring the view from the outside. It was impossible to see what was happening inside. Even Orochimaru was slightly affected. After all, this attack was an area of effect damage, and Senju Hashirama was already displeased with Orochimaru, so he naturally didn't spare him. However, their main target was still the fourth Hokage on the other side. In the few seconds when the forest descended, Minato kept using the Flying Thunder God technique to find a safe landing spot. Although this level of power is not bad, if it's just this, you're not qualified to be my opponent, Satoru observed from outside the barrier. This was probably about 60% of the first Hokage's power, and Hatake Satoru could roughly gauge the full extent of the first Hokage's power from this 60%. But even so, the first Hokage was not qualified to be Hatake Satoru's opponent. Hey, are you really not planning to make a move? Kushina glared at Hatake Satoru fiercely upon seeing this. At this point, she could no longer see what was happening inside. She could only confirm Minato's safety by communicating with the nine tails inside her. And for some reason, when facing the first Hokage, Kushina suddenly felt that the nine tails inside her was not very active. I'm sorry, but since I've already promised the other party, I can't go back on my word. Moreover, Orochimaru had given Hatake Satoru a medicine, which he had not yet given to Hatake. If the medicine worked, it would be good, but if it didn't, killing Orochimaru now would be a loss. So Hatake Satoru could not only not make a move, but he also couldn't let Orochimaru die here. Do you think you are being fair to Minato? Kushina stared straight at Hatake Satoru, looking like she was ready to fight at any moment. Humph, just watch the battle. You should trust your husband's strength. He won't be in danger, Satoru retorted, somewhat annoyed by Kushina's words. If she continued, Satoru wouldn't mind putting Kushina to sleep for a while. Perhaps sensing Satoru's change in attitude, Kushina didn't say anything more, because she knew she was no match for him. At this time, Fugaku, who had dealt with some minions, also arrived. Looking at the situation inside the barrier, his expression was very serious. Don't worry, I'll go help the Hokage now. As soon as his words fell, Fugaku's Sharingan turned into the shape of the Mangekyo, and then the Sharingan in his right eye started to rotate. A black flame appeared directly above the four purple flame formation. Amaterasu. The black flame appeared along with Fugaku's voice. As expected of being father and son, hey? Even the abilities of their Mangekyo Sharingan are the same. Seeing this, Satoru wasn't too surprised. After all, Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan had the ability of Amaterasu, Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan also had Amaterasu, so it was normal for Fugaku to have the ability of Amaterasu. If it were the four-sun flame formation, Amaterasu might not be able to break through, but if it's just the four purple flame formation, it can't stop the flame of Amaterasu. Chapter 199, Orochimaru's Fear. The barrier was broken again, and the four Otagaku ninjas who maintained the barrier spat out a mouthful of old blood again. They really couldn't understand why such a powerful barrier would be destroyed twice in such a short time. Amaterasu. Fugaku used Amaterasu again, but this time the target of Amaterasu was the trees that had filled the entire barrier. After all, as long as there is something to burn, Amaterasu is an unquenchable flame. And the few people in the flame naturally didn't know that another person had entered the barrier again. When Kushina wanted to enter again from the gap created by Fugaku, the four Otagaku ninjas simultaneously opened the curse mark mode, and the chakra in their bodies suddenly surged, instantly blocking Kushina who was about to step into the barrier. Darn it! Seeing this, Kushina's heart was immediately filled with anger. She slapped the barrier with both hands, shaking the barrier, but Kushina always remembered Minato's words, paying attention to her own strength, and did not completely destroy the barrier. And the few people in the barrier were startled when they saw the black flame suddenly appear on the trees. They didn't know how this black flame came about. "Is this Amaterasu?" Senju Hashirama said with a somewhat surprised tone when he saw this black flame. "Yes, it's Amaterasu, someone from the Uchiha clan is here." The second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, said with a certain tone. Because in the era when they lived, they had also seen several Mangekyo Sharingan, so they naturally knew what this black flame was and what the characteristics of this black flame were. But because his body was not under his control, he directly used his best water release against this black flame. But even if the second Hokage created a huge waterfall in this barrier, he could not extinguish this black flame. Namikaze Minato assisted the third Hokage in constantly avoiding the black flame, and Kakashi relied on his own strength, but still condensed a layer of chakra on the surface of his body. The third Kazekage and the fourth Kazekage also used sand iron and sand gold to protect themselves respectively. Although the sand iron and sand gold were still burning, they were always a little distance from their bodies. After about 3 minutes of burning, all the trees in the barrier disappeared, and the figures of the people appeared again. Fugaku. Seeing Uchiha Fugaku appear, the third Hokage's face directly showed a puzzled and shocked expression. Namikaze Minato and Kakashi were the same, they never thought that Uchiha Fugaku could come in. "Are those eyes of yours Mangekyo?" Minato noticed Uchiha Fugaku's eyes and said. "I'm sorry, I've been hiding it from you, but looking at the current situation, I shouldn't be late." A trace of apology appeared on Fugaku's face. He originally thought that he would never have the opportunity to use Mangekyo Sharingan in his life, so he planned to hide this secret for a lifetime, but he didn't expect it to be exposed. "Well, it's better to say that you came at the right time, Patriarch Fugaku." Although the appearance of the Mangekyo Sharingan surprised a few people, now is clearly not the time to dwell on these things. Their main enemy now is Orochimaru and the bodies of Edo Tensei in front of them. As for Orochimaru, he was even more baffled. He originally thought he had a good understanding of all the people in Konohagakure, but when he saw Fugaku's Sharingan, he was completely panicked. Perhaps because of Hatake, he had a shadow over the Mangekyo Sharingan, so he let Senju Hashirama block Uchiha Fugaku. "I didn't expect that after Uchiha Madara, the Uchiha clan would see these eyes again." The fourth Hokage said just now, "You are the current patriarch of the Uchiha clan, you are very good." Seeing this Mangekyo Sharingan, Senju Hashirama's tone was quite exclamation, and there was also praise and admiration for Uchiha Fugaku in his tone. "Thank you for your praise, first Hokage, but now I must defeat you." Facing the first Hokage, even if the other party's strength has not reached its peak, Uchiha Fugaku must also take it seriously. "Good, I also want to experience the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan again, to see what is different between your eyes and Madara's." The first Hokage's mouth corner slightly lifted, and then his hands directly opened the action, several trees appeared directly under his feet and rushed towards Uchiha Fugaku. And Fugaku also used the insight of the Sharingan to constantly dodge these attacks, and if he couldn't dodge, he would also use fire release to burn it. The second Hokage, seeing his big brother actually become an opponent of a person from the Uchiha clan, was very unhappy and snorted. As a person who is very disgusted with the Uchiha clan, he desperately hopes that he can become an opponent of the Uchiha. But now he can only compete with the fourth in front of him for speed, but the Flying Thunder God Jutsu is not as good as the fourth, and now he can't exert all his strength, his heart is already very suffocated. Orochimaru now has the idea of retreating. Konohagakure village is a genuine 4-kage level strength, and on their side, except for Orochimaru himself, all the others are inferior products. Although using the characteristics of Edo Tensei's immortal body can delay a few people for a while, this is definitely not a long-term plan. As time goes by, he will definitely suffer. It's possible for him to die here. Before planning this action, he took all the possibilities into account. He thought that Edo Tensei's could definitely take down Konohagakure, but he didn't expect that even though Hatake Satoru would not make a move, but Uchiha Fugaku appeared. Fortunately, Orochimaru does not know that Konohagakure's White Fang have also made a move, otherwise, he might be scared to death now. Orochimaru, who originally wanted to make a move, may be out of fear of the Mangekyo Sharingan, so he has no idea of making a move now. He often uses the resurrection technique, which makes his soul and spirit extremely fragile, and he has no great resistance to genjutsu. If Fugaku uses the Mangekyo Sharingan to put a genjutsu on him, this battle can probably end. Thinking of this, Orochimaru instantly became alert, not daring to watch Fugaku's battlefield. He quickly gave a look and a gesture to the 4 people maintaining the barrier. The 4 of them understood and nodded. Instantly, the barrier was broken. The 4 directly followed behind Orochimaru and ran out towards the village of Konohagakure. Where do you think you're going? Seeing Orochimaru who was going to run, Kushina wouldn't let him go so easily and directly chased after him. Chapter 200, The 4 Cage are sealed. Kushina directly put on the tailed beast cloak, and the claws formed by the tailed beast chakra directly slapped towards Orochimaru. Facing this kind of attack, Orochimaru dared not underestimate it. He quickly controlled the first Hokage to get rid of Fugaku and appeared in front of him. The body of the first Hokage was directly shattered with this slap. This hair color, and a Jinchuriki, are you from the Uzumaki clan? Seeing Kushina, Senju Hashirama's face showed a surprised expression. Yes, first Hokage. Although I really want to reminisce with you now, it seems that there is no chance. Let's reminisce next time. After speaking, Senju Hashirama clapped his hands again. Sage art, would release, true several thousand hands. A huge wooden Buddha statue rose from the ground. Even Hatake Satoru, who was watching the excitement on the side, was affected and could only retreat to a further distance. Although this wooden Buddha statue was not as huge as when he was at his peak, it was not to be underestimated. Top transformed Buddha. With the sound of Senju Hashirama's voice again, the countless arms of the Buddha statue directly struck towards Kushina. Kushina! Seeing this scene, Minato shouted anxiously, but he was now held back by the second Hokage and could not rescue Kushina in time. And when she saw this move, Kushina's expression instantly became much more serious. A golden glow emerged from her whole body, and a huge golden fox also rose into the air. If you look closely, this golden fox is completely composed of chakra. Almost all the people in the village of Konohagakure saw these 2 suddenly appearing behemoths. I didn't expect that one day, I would face the first Hokage again. A gloomy voice came from the mouth of this fox. Stop talking nonsense, let's survive this move first. Kushina also said with a very serious tone. Just then, this golden nine-tails suddenly opened its mouth, and the red chakra and blue-black chakra instantly condensed into a ball in the mouth of this golden nine-tails. Tailed Beast Bomb. Thousands of wooden arms pressed towards the golden nine-tails, and the tailed beast bomb in the mouth of the golden nine-tails also immediately bombarded the huge Buddha statue. This won't do, if they really collide Konohagakure will be destroyed. Suddenly, a slightly frivolous voice suddenly sounded, and Hatake Satoru appeared between the 2 people at some unknown time. Young man, get out of the way quickly. The first Hokage immediately shouted out. His attack might not be able to kill the person from the Uzumaki clan, but it was easy to kill an ordinary person. Minato, who originally wanted to resolve these 2 attacks at the risk of being injured, saw Hatake Satoru make a move and instantly felt relieved. Curse technique lapse, blue. A red ball directly appeared at the fingertips of Hatake Satoru, a dazzling light suddenly burst out, instantly absorbing all these 2 terrifying attacks. After the attack ended, Hatake Satoru's body appeared in front of the 2 people unscathed. What? Seeing Hatake Satoru unharmed, Senju Hashirama's face directly showed a very surprised expression. Minato, Orochimaru has already left, let's end this battle now. Satoru didn't bother with Senju Hashirama, but directly shouted to Namikaze Minato. Okay. Suddenly, Minato also put on a golden-tailed beast cloak, and in his pupils, there were vertical pupils of a fox and horizontal pupils of a toad. What is this? The second Hokage, who was opposing Minato, was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that the fourth also had a 9 tails in his body. As expected. Senju gradually had no surprise about this scene, but instead showed an expression of anticipation. You did a great job splitting the 9 tails, fourth Hokage. Senju Hashirama praised Minato. But I think, the 9 tails was not only split by you, right? That's right, first Hokage, half of the power of the 9 tails is in my son. Minato answered directly. Very good, the 9 tails is the most powerful tailed beast. Even if it is only 1/3 of its power, it can compete with other tailed beasts. I also thought about splitting the 9 tails, but I never thought of a good way. Fourth, you really are a genius. Thank you for your praise, first Hokage, but I'm sorry, First Hokage, second Hokage, for the peace of Konohagakure, I have to seal you. Two huge chakra arms instantly stretched out from behind Minato, directly grabbing the bodies of the first Hokage and second Hokage. Good, Sarutobi has a good eye, you are indeed the most suitable person to be Hokage, more suitable for the position of Hokage than me. As the first Hokage spoke, dense runes gradually spread to the bodies of the first and second with the chakra arms. When these runes completely wrapped the first and second, it was the time when the seal was completed. Although the third Hokage and Kakashi also thought about sealing their opponents, they didn't have the ability to seal the other party at all. After all, they were not very good at sealing techniques. So they could only hold the two, wait for Minato to finish sealing the two Hokages, and then seal the two Kazekages. Fourth Hokage, I'm very relieved to leave the village to you, I see the inheritance of the will of fire in you. At the last moment when consciousness was about to dissipate, the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, spoke. Although the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, had a cold expression and didn't speak, he could still see the appreciation for Minato from his eyes. He had already felt Minato's terrifying strength. He might not be able to compare with his elder brother, but he was definitely comparable to himself at his peak, and even stronger than himself at his peak. The only regret is that I didn't see Tsunade this time, I don't know how she is now. Even if he was dead, the first Hokage was still very worried about his granddaughter. Just as Minato was preparing to answer the first Hokage's question, it was too late, the first Hokage and the second Hokage had been completely sealed. Then, the other two Kazekages also did not escape. Before the sealing of the Kazekage ended, the fourth Kazekage, Raza, suddenly regained consciousness. Fourth Hokage, all of this was orchestrated by Orochimaru, it has nothing to do with Tsunagakure village, I hope you can spare our Tsunagakure village. Raza's tone was somewhat pleading. Tsunagakure village was originally the weakest of the 5 major ninja villages. Now that he, the Kazekage, was dead, Raza really couldn't think of who could be the next Kazekage. If the fourth Hokage were to vent his anger on Tsunagakure village because of this matter, then their Tsunagakure village might be removed from the 5 major ninja villages. Don't worry, we will find out the truth of the matter. If it is really as you said, then I will spare your people. Thank you. Then, Raza's consciousness was also completely sealed.
Thanks for listening.